Somebody said to me the other day, "You're the most famous person in the world by far." I said, "No, I'm not. No, I'm not." They said, "Yes, you are." I said, "No." They said, "Who's more famous?" I said, "Jesus Christ."
Yeah, he and I have to definitely debate. That's what I love.
I see the books. What's your army? You didn't answer my question.
Oh, my army.
Yeah.
So I just started 2 of them. And it's gonna be Red Corsairs and Iron Warriors.
Base. I'm Black Legion, so I'm CSM all the way too, brother.
Yeah,
Base.
I like that. They have good stories.
Hell yeah. Well, Iron Warriors has that one that one story, but
They have a few.
These 40K plot enjoyers, man.
Hey, he's got his books in the shot. He's got, and I can see it.
It's just Dungeons and Dragons.
No, it's
Dungeons and
just
Dragons.
imagine reading a book about something that didn't happen. Oh my god!
I only read books where real things happen.
So you don't like sci-fi commentary on politics, huh?
Yeah. Can somebody get the sci-fi out of my politics? That's a good one.
No, quick. Nobody say female space marines.
Well,
that's the only thing I know about
okay.
40K is that you guys hate female
no.
space marines.
Okay, so just so everyone's aware, I think you've all been on my show before, except for JC there. It's gonna be real simple. I'll introduce a topic. I'll say hi to my audience, and then I'll give each of you, and I stress this, a very concise opening thoughts. Again, we are going to be mostly talking it in a general sense, though if you want to bring up the Texas law that's been in legal battles, by all means, please. But because we have some people who are kind of last minute here, I don't want to burden them by having that kind of detail be something they're just not familiar with. That said, any questions before we begin?
Why is it all cis white males?
I agree.
I
am a Middle Eastern male, thank you.
White enough for me.
I'm Hispanic.
Oh, Tyler, you didn't.
Allie, you're gonna have to turn down your exposure. You're passing as white right now.
It's the fucking window. I don't have a blind right now. When the sun goes down, you'll see my true complexion.
Oh yeah, your
okay.
true
When
colors will show.
night comes, your true face will be revealed. Okay. That said, we're going to get started in 3, 2, 1. Hello. Welcome, one and all, to yet another episode of WIC TV, a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. And today we have a show for you. Gang, we're going to be talking about the Texas border crisis. Recently, the Supreme Court allowed a law that allows Texas police to deport migrants that they suspect of being illegal immigrants. However, this has been put on hold, right, by other appeals courts, right? It's still going through the system. But I wanted to talk today about the Texas border in general. Is there a crisis at the border? Is this being overblown? Is this something that people are just overly worried about when they don't have to? We've got some great guests today to talk about it. Special thanks to Socrates for being willing to fill in last minute. But yeah, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to talk about immigration, the pros, the cons, whether or not Biden's doing a good job, whether or not there's a crisis at the border, and what we should do about it, if anything. And we're going to start with first-time guest on my panel, Lefty JC. Give us your take and tell us who you are.
Okay. I'm the artist formerly known as Lefty Jesus. I now go by the Big JC. I'm 2 steps to the left of a social democrat and about 5 steps to the right of the rest of the left these days, it seems. And I think that with regards to the Texas border, it's pretty legally, pretty cut and dry. Federal government has supremacy over the border. Governor Abbott is acting in flagrant violation of the Constitution. In my opinion, he should be impeached and thrown into federal prison.
Okay, we're starting strong. Next up, we have Tuna Chip, no stranger to my show.
What's going on, Wick? What's going on, people? Strangely enough, people call me Lib Chip all the time. This is going to be one of my more right-wing positions, which is mostly that the border is in crisis because the public deems it to be so. When it comes to the question of like whether or not we should deport people that come in or don't come in, either we think that we need to set a precedent, which is a law that we all believe in, and then deport people based on that, or we need to just reevaluate where that law is. Like, I don't think that anybody should be shocked when a law starts getting enforced. That shouldn't be the thing you should be complaining about, of all things.
Okay, thanks for being here, and we'll see how it goes. Next up, a last-minute replacement, but someone who's always first in my heart, Socrates. Thoughts on immigration? Go ahead.
Yeah, so as Vic said, I was last minute on this, so I literally don't know anything about this bill. So I'll go a little bit more general when it comes to immigration. So economically, immigration is a boon. Makes everybody richer. It makes everything a little bit culturally more interesting. Get some nicer food, some interesting people to talk to. Crime goes down because immigrants commit less crime than natural-born citizens, and especially illegal immigrants commit less crime because they're already in a precarious situation. They don't want to be committing crimes, then getting deported. So I think there's a lot that needs to be fixed about our immigration system, but the idea that immigrants coming in is like the number one thing that we need to be terrified of in the world when we are moving potentially toward nuclear armament and we're heading toward climate disaster, and we have just normal economic issues. I think it's a pretty ridiculous situation.
Well, thank you for being here, and I appreciate it, and we'll get into it as we go. Next up, Tyler, average debate enjoyer. Go ahead.
Kind of a Bill Clinton liberal. I joined the Democratic Party when the Democrats were very strong on border security. So that's kind of what I'm rooted in. Going from that, I would say if your definition of a border problem is that we have 7 million people that have entered the country, then yes, there's a big problem. I don't think the Democrats see it that way. Minus the 2 million gotaways, the 5 million others that have come into the country are intended policy of the Democratic Party to bolster the economy. They have been soft on illegal immigrants for the last 15 years, allowing them in and fighting against getting them deported. The way we currently have laws structured in the federal government, you have the authority to deport, but you're not required to do it. I think this Texas lawsuit links in because it allows Texas to execute on these federal authorities and privileges in a way the federal government's supposed to be and not.
Okay, thank you for that, and we'll get into it as we go. Next up, the person who brought me this topic, Admiral Gibbs. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the Texas border, Texas is doing the job the U.S. government refuses to do. The traitorous lawmakers up in Washington, D.C. have deemed the southern border just a failed state and are allowing people to come along wholesale, willy-nilly. And the only place that's stopping this is Texas. We've managed to put up barriers that have been proven to be effective and stop immigration. We've stopped this every time we've done it, and the government's come in and tore them down and just done treasonous behavior all around. We've been sitting here asking for help, and no one thought it was a problem until we shipped these people to other cities, where all of a sudden they didn't have the infrastructure like we haven't had the infrastructure, and now it's a crisis that's being an issue across the nation. So as I was saying, basically, long story short, Dems, poo-poo on you. Maybe actually get your shit together and stop giving us bullshit bills.
Okay, thank you for being here. I'm sure we'll get into it as we go. Last up, Sociologic Ali. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, immigration good. I think immigration is good. We need more people. We need different people. This seems to bring more spice and fun to the country. Illegal immigration is bad, but honestly, I only think it's bad because they don't have social security numbers and we don't know who they are. If we can find them, I feel like it costs more money to deport them than it would be to just, find them, fine them, and give them their fucking social security. Now you make money off the illegal immigrants. They're probably less likely to want to be illegal if they get caught. You can turn them into immigrants, and we can make money off of them. So yeah.
That's a thing. Gang, and once again, just full disclosure, I do get a check from Progressive Victory, right? They aren't paying for this content.
What?
But I know, it's crazy. I do get that, so full
You're not on
disclosure.
the
I don't think
alumni,
anyone
are
else
you?
here does. And with that, we're going to open it up to just general discourse. If you have trouble getting in, please either raise your hand or DM me, and I'll try to make space for you. But with that, open talk. Go ahead.
Well, we can
I actually wanted to get into a response to Sock's thing, and I'm not trying to use Sock as a punching bag. I just know him well, so this is going to be a little bit
Punch
a
me.
thing. So you're one of your main
Your hardest shot.
one of the main arguments on the pro-immigration side is the economic argument, which is essentially that as we take people in through the border, they fill parts of the market that are not being worked by other people, often ones that are desperate to be worked, some that, frankly, are paid below what we would consider a living wage. We also talk about that living wage and that cost of living crisis that's happened and is exacerbated by this effect. My argument against this is that the entire world is the United States economy. There are jobs that need to be done in other parts of the world, wrapped into our economy, and it actually creates more jobs in the places where jobs are needed to keep people out of the border and to force those countries to play ball on the world economy stage rather than taking in more workers into a sector that is already overbloated. Immigration is justifiable when the work that is coming in makes sense to be localized inside of the United States, but sometimes you need people to exist inside of other countries where there are resources to be extracted, there are logistics setups to be built, such as in Africa, where China is making amazing strides doing development, but the United States doesn't really have a foothold, and probably because the only relationship we have is taking in migrants as opposed to creating like good, safe, sanctioned trade with them.
So that's an argument for more trade, but is there any actual direct connection between that thing? Is there some study that shows, oh no, we've taken all of the people who would be mining for resources somewhere in as immigrants, and now mining isn't happening? Has that happened anywhere ever?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
There's all sorts of examples of that. We'll take, it often happens a lot more in the creative sectors. And if you look at different types of employees, creative being like doctors and lawyers and things like that, we take other nations' smartest people off, and then they're really depleted.
Brain drain.
Yeah, exactly.
That occurs. Yeah, on the like high skilled labor side, that can occur. Absolutely, yeah.
What does that have to do with the Texas border situation?
I can give it a pretty clear example in terms of the low, which is you don't have to look towards the other nation. You just have to look at where the United States economy is right now, which is that we are restricting the number of low barrier to entry jobs. We are making it so that people have to work multiple of them at few hours in order to accept the pay. Like the environment's already competitive on an axis where most of the jobs that are being filled that are the low access jobs are being filled by people that have felonies, usually from drug addiction charges. Like I'm not seeing enough space in the economy in the places that I've looked at. Now, how does removing that labor from other countries affect them? It's not so much that on that part in terms of the low value labor. I'm mostly saying that the low value labor is not doing us any favors. It's not.
Well, so our economy is getting better as a result. Jobs that need to be done are getting done.
Wait, according to who?
According to most metrics these days, the economy seems to be quite good. Yeah, not sure that's something that can be contested.
But just to respond to this question around brain drain, I mean, there's absolutely a case when you want to talk about humanitarian issues in other countries. But I thought we were talking about you know, if you're someone who's like, I care more about people in other countries than my own kind of patriotic love for America and our own economy, that's something, you know, I'm a hippie lefty guy. I love that. We can talk about that. But I thought we were talking about some kind of issue that's like negatively affecting the United States. Us having more doctors, but other countries losing their doctors.
Hold on, we're not having
that's
more
not-
doctors. That's not what's happening. Hold on. Are y'all trying to argue?
Well, that was
the
average
people-
debate, Enjoyer's point.
Well, whoever made that point, they're an idiot. I'm sorry. That's not happening. That's not what's going down here at the Texas border. We have millions of people coming across with no skills, and they get here and they just come in,
How
and
many?
we have to house them. Millions. It was what was it last
Like a
year?
number, like how many
3.5
millions?
7.4
3.5. All
million.
right,
was the
January,
millions.
census.
January we had
Hundreds of millions.
72,000. Like they had, and then the Shelby Park, they had like 2,500 just in 3 days. I mean, like these are thousands upon thousands of people. It's a mass influx of human bodies that are coming across the border, and it's not. Oh Lordy, the doctors are coming, boys. The doctors are coming, and they're gonna give us more doctors, and they're giving us more engineers. No, it's unskilled, uneducated labor, and it's a drain on the economy. It's a drain on the infrastructure.
Is there-
So, like,
Not
let's
a
just throw
drain
that.
on the
I don't know.
economy.
Hold on.
Country ever.
One at a time.
Yeah, let's
Go
just
ahead.
throw that bullshit point out. Like,
Was it-
it's not like it's some like
Hold
brain
up.
drain coming.
Well,
In
I had a
Texas,
question.
wasn't there a meat
Hold on,
packing
we're
factory?
gonna
that
go to
was-
Ali, then we're gonna
Yeah.
go to JC, and then we're gonna go to Tuna Chip. Apparently, Go
Like we
ahead.
can argue that they're coming here and they're not doing work, but wasn't there a meat factory that was literally hiring 16-year-old illegal immigrant Mexicans and giving them fake IDs and fake jobs? So they are working, they are doing things. It's not like people are coming here and like just sitting down. If they're able to reap any type of like Social Security or any type of welfare, any of that, like then they should be able to be put to work. I don't understand why you wouldn't just put them to work if you're,
So
Most of them are work.
I'm not
That's
in favor of illegal immigration, but
Make it legal.
I still have my position while also acknowledging what seems to be reality, which is that illegal immigration, regardless of its legal status, is a boost to the economy. I haven't seen metrics that go against that. I've only seen metrics confirming it in my research, so I'm not sure where you're getting this idea that illegal immigrants are a net drain. The most I've seen is like a wash, with slight reductions in wages for low skill native born workers.
I can address that. Tuna, you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, the main thing I was going to say is that as we take people in, we are increasing the amount of population that is being hired into businesses like Amazon, and we are making it so that a lot of these factories being built into nowhere. And that's some of the like most positive gains. Most of the positive gains are happening in a couple of companies that are utilizing that low skill labor inside of these like big machinic processes, which don't really require a lot of communication. Or at least not articulate communication in the way that having that language is. I've worked in one of these factories before. It's definitely useful. What I'm saying is that I don't want 16-year-old Mexicans getting their fingers cut off in meat factories. I don't want the cost of living to go up as the havers are able to buy more and more property and leverage that advantage onto lower people. That's not a better economy in the way that I am going to be using the word economy. To me, a good economy is validated by whether or not the people that are living in it are able to access the things they need, have some form of economic upward mobility. I don't just want net gains in terms of raw income. We can get that by having those people be productive in other places too, and trading with those places. So if we're just talking about raw net, there are other ways to that. I'm looking for quality of life in addition.
What you're saying is feasible, but we have to get rid of programs like Social Security where we need to constantly keep expanding and growing the economy in order to pay for the next future generation. So what you're saying is economically feasible, just not with our current situation. But to more address what Lefty Jesus is saying, the studies I've seen, there was an argument when Trump was president where he claimed it was $200 billion that we're spending every year on illegal immigrants. The number was actually a bit lower than that. It was closer to $110 billion that we put out in social services. I want to say a lot of illegal immigrants have to use different court systems, have to use different parole systems. A lot of them are entitled to benefits. In certain cities, they can vote and get different things out of them. So the total sum between state and federal was around 110. Now, with legal immigrants, it usually takes 2 to 3 generations for them to become a net benefit to the economy and be the group that opens up businesses more often than U.S. born citizens. With illegal immigrants, that usually takes one extra generation. Within 4 generations, they are a net benefit to the economy. So yes, in the long term, we're talking about net benefit to the economy, but that's a very libertarian stance to take when along the way there's a lot of pitfalls you're overlooking.
Not even
So
in the
you are
long
right.
term. Not even in the long term. The 1986 naturalization, the Immigrant Reform Act,
Yeah.
boosted the
In the
economy
short term,
massively.
there are benefits in the
because
short
Reagan
term as
didn't
well.
because it
Yes.
wasn't paired with any immigration reform. Like
I'm talking overall.
my proposed solution would include immigration reform in addition to something very similar to the 1986 bill. I think you have to have both of those parts working together.
So what we have going on right now is the Biden administration completely gutted Trump's DHS. They're on record saying they gutted the DHS, got rid of all of his policies, and started over from scratch. What they've been doing is they've been interpreting different words in this legislation to bypass Congress and make up visa program, flying 300,000 people in so they didn't have to go over the border, bringing in 600,000 people. They didn't even get notices to appear. They got notices to report, which is something we've never had before since we have so many people here. We have over 2 million people abusing the asylum system because of expansions Obama did in 2010 or 2012, I think.
What do you
I
consider
have
an
it in my-
abuse of the asylum system?
So I could pull it up right now for you. I have it in my notes. Let me find. There are, in 1996 to 2010, there was a study done where only 5% of aliens apprehended at the border that claimed asylum used the fear of prosecution clause. There's 5 different clauses you can file for. In 2010, Obama changed that fear of prosecution for good reason. It was an unintended consequence, but because he changed that clause, it went from 5% of people to 39% of people in just 4 years coming to the border and using that clause that he lowered the standard to. And of those people, 81% get brought into the U.S. interior,
So-
but only about 15% end up.
If I may interject here, right? I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think anyone here is contesting that we are having a lot of immigrants come through,
Yeah.
right? There's a lot. The question is this a problem? Why or why not? And if it is a problem, what are some of the ways we should
Yes.
handle that problem? That
So
is
it's a
the question.
problem. It's not a problem. We need the immigrants. We need the work. It's really helping Joe Biden's economic numbers to bring them in. And if we don't get a border bill, it really helps Joe Biden more than anybody because only Republicans vote on immigration. No Democrats are going to the fucking polls and not voting Joe Biden over
Not
immigration.
true. That's not true.
Only
It was-
Republicans.
No, that's
Are
I
you
can show you
saying-
the Pew data. I can show you the
I
Pew
can-
data.
I can- I
Independents
mean-
don't care. Hispanics don't care. Democrats don't care.
That's unequivocally not true. MSNBC just put out a poll, like I
I can
said.
I can show you
just
the
put out a poll saying that
historic voting data.
79% of
Not the
people who
Democrats.
voted for this number
That being said,
one issue this year.
it's a political gamble by Biden. It's only an issue because of the way we're doing it. So we're not bringing these people in legally the right way. We're abusing asylum systems and abusing visa programs. So we're over flooding these asylum systems in New York City, and it's causing all sorts of chaos. We're doing the same thing with visa programs, and it's causing a lot of chaos in cities that can't support these people coming. If it was done a proper way, slowed down a little bit, and done through the legal system, the vetted system, I'd be all for it. But the way it's being done, Biden's technically breaking laws right now in order to do this, and it's fucking a lot of things up for state.
Sure. I mean, I don't disagree that the immigration system as such is really what needs to be fixed in order to we have all these other things busting at the seams that are these kind of more special cases. We need to massively expand the amount of people who are able to come in legally, and then we won't have these other systems that are not set up in order to do that are busting at the seams. So
We
huge,
also need to
huge agree there, yeah.
naturalize everybody that's already here. We're not getting rid of
Yeah.
them. We just got to bite that bullet. We got to accept it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have another
Well,
option, which is that we
Hold on,
can.
Gibbs, do you disagree?
Yeah, I agree with you. too, actually.
No, absolutely not. We don't need to naturalize. Like, listen.
What's your
like,
alternative?
I'm going to tell you my alternative. It's real simple. We ship their ass back. Like, it's crazy
To
me
where?
that y'all
To
are-
Mexico? Mexico doesn't want them.
Oh, but so we want
To Sweden.
So you saying that Mexico figured out
Well-
that it wasn't helping their economy and it was bad and they don't want them? Oh, and so we're just supposed to take them because Mexico don't?
So I'm
Well, ship 'em
curious
back
what your
where they're
motivation is for
came
wanting
from.
these people out of the country when they are proven to be either a benefit
They're
or a
not-
wash to the
they're not
economy.
proven to be. That's bullshit.
According
That's
to
not
you,
like-
but according to every data and metric I've seen,
Every data,
that's,
maybe
yes,
this
that's true.
lip cut data that you got. I don't
Oh,
know.
okay, I
Like,
gotcha.
I mean, all I gotta do is walk outside and tell me. You told me the economy is
Well,
good.
you
all
make
gotta do
sure
is go
that
walk
you send
outside
me the
and
good
go to
data,
the
okay?
grocery- I
I wanna
will.
look
Yeah,
at the
it's called
good data this
It's
time.
called the grocery store. You go there. It's called inflation. It's killing the average person.
He's
like
got me there.
The wage depression is way down.
How do you get that down,
Illegal immigration.
Google
Like,
Maps for this.
the way
Hold on,
y'all are
hold on,
doing-
one at a time.
like, first of all, so y'all sat here and like gave me all these bullshit points about, oh, it's all a wholesale good. Listen, immigration, especially illegal immigration, it causes wage depression, which is something I thought, the libs would be sitting here talking, oh, big fans of like stopping. But no, y'all, I guess y'all want the wage depression to happen. Then we simultaneously have massive inflation due to the horrible economics of the Biden economy. And we can sit here and argue all day on whether that economy is good or bad. But all you have to do is go to the grocery store, the gas pumps, and you tell me it's good. Like you're sitting, you're smoking crack. Like that, it's not good. It's trash. And then when we talk about the jobs, y'all keep talking about, oh, well, great. Yeah, everybody's got to work 4 jobs. So yeah, more jobs have been created, but that's because everybody has to work 4 jobs just to go get a loaf of bread and some eggs. And that's if you're living on the high life. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like I just so all your points are just total bullshit about the economy. Secondly, yeah, let's ship them back. Why is it our fault that Guatemala's failing? And if it is our fault, well, that's the benefit of being a superpower. Ship them back anyway. Like Jesus, like it's why do we got to take everybody in and sit here and act like we do this when we don't even have enough to go around as is? Like all the social programs you see in Chicago and New York have been overrun by illegal immigrants, and now we're having them overrun here in Texas. And then we ship them places. People are like, oh no, you're so mean to ship them to New York. Oh God, like it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Okay. Responses, and then
Yeah,
we're
I've
gonna
got
go
a couple of them.
Several,
The thing is,
I've got one too.
if we are a government with a representative democracy and the people that get voted can get that bill to pass, and I'll just underline Gibbs on this, what is the justification for taking people in or not kicking people out that put themselves in against their will? Also, why is it that it is okay when people leave Mexico to another country due to economic disparity, but if we have economic problems here and we make people leave here, why is it that that's a bad thing? We have one, which is this idea that it's voluntary, but it's not voluntarily taken in. It's a voluntary leave. Now, if someone were to say, start enforcing those laws, and especially start enforcing those laws in a way that gets taken seriously, people would be anybody illegal would be voluntarily leaving the United States. It's only because we're very, very civil about the way that we instrument our laws. We could be stringing people up on pikes. We could be doing much more violent things.
Is that what you're advocating for?
It seems as if violence is the only thing that gets taken seriously.
We got saw blades
hold
on
on.
the
I want to
buoys.
be clear. Are you advocating for that?
I'm not advocating for it. I'm not the one putting my fist up and slamming it on a desk. I'm saying that we're going if the rule of law by democratic rule is not taken seriously, then people are going to lose faith in that, and then they're going to just start doing them themselves. You are going to have people that start these militias that start rounding people up in their trucks and deporting them across the border. We already know that people are willing to go that extreme to go to the other end. Do I approve of it? No. I think that we should do anything to prevent that from being what people choose as the solution in lieu of their government doing what they tell them to.
Okay. I want to give the ball to Ali, then Socrates, and then we'll go from there.
Well, yeah. First of all, we have the saw blades on the buoys. We're doing what we can. We got the barbed wires. The people are breaking through these things now. To get your point,
That's
what do you
not
mean it's
true.
not true? You
So
just didn't
Texas-
you say 7
hold on,
million
hold on.
people got through?
There's video
Hold on,
footage
hold
of it.
on.
What are you talking
I
about?
have this. This is interesting. Washington Post just posted out an article recently.
Yeah.
I have that right here. Basically, Texas taking credit because all the places where Texas has put up concertina wire and barriers have significantly stopped immigration to the point that they are having to go around Texas to these other areas. And it is proven that Operation Lone Star is working. So if the federal government actually did their job and that the state government is having to do, we could solve this immigration problem. But people, the libs up there in Washington are deciding, no, we're going to sue Texas over effective borders that we've actually already put up and are working.
Yeah. Okay. So like we're doing that. So we got that going. But then also I was gonna say, wouldn't it cost? What's the cost analysis for like trying to sit here and round up and deport? You said 7 million people, right? Wouldn't it just be cheaper, more feasible, better economically for us to try to naturalize them and have them be working and paying taxes and paying into our system versus taking the money that it would cost to deport them? Then we don't gain any of that money.
To be clear, illegal immigrants already pay some taxes, but they get fewer benefits.
Yeah. Because they're working and their sales tax and stuff. But yeah. So those
Okay.
why would we waste the money to deport when we should take the money and naturalize and gain?
You're asking a pretty vague question. I can answer here for Gibbs if he doesn't feel like it because he's linking stuff. If we had a certain system in place, like if we look at HR2, the Republican posed border bill, it would have codified E-Verify into law, making the cost to deporting people that were overextending their visas and stuff very, very low. So if
How
we
is
actually,
it low?
because
you
we have,
find people to round them up, take them down, like there's a whole thing.
yeah, I mean, we do that anyways. If they like lose their asylum cases and whatnot, we already have those institutions in place to do that. It gives us their location, their status, and everything, and keeps track of it digitally as opposed to the current system. We E-Verify would make that a lot cheaper. It wouldn't cost zero, but it would make it a lot cheaper and easier. And I mean, like, what your argument essentially is like it costs money to have police. So if we get rid of police, we have more money to spend on taxes elsewhere. But crime is a problem, and as Tunachip said,
it costs
once
us
you
money to have
stop-
police, but the police get the money and they spend the money here, and they pay their
Yeah.
taxes from their paycheck and so on and so forth. So this is like
criminals pay their
giving-
taxes too. So like I'm just saying, like if you don't
Yeah.
enforce the laws on the books, then the laws are trivialized, and then everybody's either as Tunachip said, starts making their own militias to take care of the laws as they see fit, or what Texas is kind of doing, but they're actually following the laws.
Yeah,
And
I'm saying, why wouldn't the argument be towards naturalization versus the opposite?
naturalization condone what you're saying. Everybody that snuck in here before this certain day, here you go. And we haven't actually done anything. Like that was Trump's plan, was to give amnesty to 2.5 million illegal DACA recipients and use that to build the wall. Okay, all of you made it here. Here's your citizenship, but we also have to close the border and make sure no more people.
Yeah, but
come
the DACA recipients had a hella fucking like rules on them. They literally couldn't break a single law. Like they couldn't get a speeding ticket or they would get deported. So I mean, like,
For sure.
isn't that better? So we take the immigrants that we have, like we can track them. We can enforce stricter rules on them. They're gonna follow those rules, and that's a bigger benefit to us. So once again, why are we deporting them?
If they're following the rules, then they should have come in the right way.
It is
I think we should advocate
a
for
moral
standards.
tax on the nation to have a lower class that can be deported for small crimes instead of preventing them from coming at any point. I don't want people that when they get pulled over for speeding get dragged by their neck across the border. I'd rather just not let them in. That's way less.
Or they don't speed, and we have a better citizen.
Or check this out. They're going to fail that test because everybody does. You speeded yesterday. You know that the common behavior of all people, the reason that the speed limits exist is so that there's a justification at any given time to pull somebody over and have a reasonable reason to check their car. Like we don't set those things at what people drive. We set it, I think, usually 20% below what the critical mass of drivers are when we do our canvassing.
One thing, I don't know if that's true. I don't speed when I'm out, but maybe that's just me.
Look at your hair. Look at the hair hanging from your chin, brother.
Fair enough. But I want to pass the ball to Socrates and then JC. They both have some points, and I want to get them in here. But go ahead, Socrates, and then JC. Let's hear.
Yeah. So I want to go back to Tuna's argument that if we're going to allow a lot of people to come in from Mexico, we should make it easy for us to immigrate to Mexico. And I think that's fair. I think it makes sense that we have more of like a dual kind of open border if we're going to make it easier for people to come in, make it easier for people to go out. There's actually a historical perspective on this, which is that in the beginning of the 20th century, we didn't rigidly enforce a border. And you know what happened? People came in, they worked a season, and they left. So we actually had a large group of migrants coming in from Mexico, working, not causing any trouble, just boosting the economy, coming back home with some money to boost their economy as well. But what happened when we tightened up the border is it became necessary for them to come in and to stay. Because now it's not feasible to keep crossing back and forth. So there's some unintended consequences actually of tightening the border controls, which is it makes it much more incentivized for people to stay rather than in the past they would have just left and then they would have come back for the season, whatever. So that's something that I think we need to keep in mind from a historical perspective. This is a problem that we've created by tightening the border. It doesn't mean that we necessarily have to go back to less stringent border controls, but that's a consequence that we created by tightening the border.
Infallible Foul for $2 asks Gibbs, have you ever been to Mexico?
Yeah, I have. Several times, many
Fair
times.
enough.
Is it cool
I'm
there?
going to pass the ball to JC. Go
I
ahead.
like Mexico.
Yeah, so I know that it's getting kind of macro here, but just I wanted to just address one sort of micro point here. We can all pretty much agree that regardless of the solutions that we come to tonight, that they'll have to be enacted via the federal government, and that what Greg Abbott is doing is violating the Constitution.
Fake news.
Gibbs, no? Where's your
think-
disagreement on that? I'm real curious.
I
I
mean,
think the
yeah. In
SCOTUS
fact,
said-
the federal government is committing treason by not enforcing the border. So, yeah, if we're gonna take someone out back and shoot them, it's gonna be the treasonous people up in Washington.
Where do you
not
figure that the
patriots
federal
down here in
government
Texas.
isn't enforcing the
That's-
border?
Like that? They're not. What do you mean? They're literally tearing down barriers in places where it's working.
That's
like,
federal. Well, hold on. That's federal government making a decision on how
No,
they would
yeah.
like to police the
Well, it's
border, which is
interesting-
their
it's interesting.
jurisdiction.
The Supreme Court has already ruled that Texas has the right to enforce the border, and the
No,
Supreme Court has ruled.
I'm pretty sure they put an emergency stay on that. Did they not?
No. I mean, which specific one? They said that we could rebuild our barriers, so that was one of
Oh
them.
yes, they
They said-
yeah, they allowed that. And you know what? To be honest, I feel like they're going to allow him to do whatever anyways. I was just curious where everybody's minds lie with regards to the Constitution. Because
Yeah, I mean,
regardless
it's-
of what the
it's pretty
Supreme Court
clear there's
decides,
a-
I feel like it's kind of reading of the Constitution reveals just how fucking traitorous Abbott is acting.
I think
No,
the
I'll tell
Supreme
you,
Court's
it's
spoken,
pretty
and they're
clear
the
that
ones
they're
that
not
are
gonna-
with that. So
The Supreme Court hasn't spoken on SB4. Finally, no.
they said that Texas has the right to
To put up
implement
the
their own border
barriers.
policy. So the reason that the way this works is kind of similar to sanctuary city. States have the right to ignore federal regulation and not enforce immigration law and allow illegal immigrants to stay in their cities. The point I was trying to jump in there before and say, Tuna Chip was saying if somebody gets a speeding ticket, they get dragged across the border by their neck. The Democratic Party just voted unanimously. The entire Democratic Party in the House voted unanimously to not deport people who were driving drunk while being here illegally.
Just to be
So-
clear, sanctuary city is just somewhere where if you get arrested, you're not asked your immigration status as part of the arrest procedure.
And if they do know your immigration status, they don't report you to DHS to be deported.
But they don't have to ask it.
They don't have to, but it's federal law. So what Gibbs is saying too is it is federal law that gives them the authority to deport, but the way that the current federal law is written, they don't have to. It's not
Correct.
mandatory that they deport.
Correct.
So HR 2 actually would have changed that. So you can't call them treasonous for not enforcing the law when the law is actually written to give them the
I
option.
call
to
him
enforce.
treasonous for flying in the face of the Constitution.
I think the
Not for the
Supreme
law,
Court said that Texas
for
has the
writing
right
the
to
law.
do this. I'm pretty
No,
sure.
Greg Abbott, at the time that he took the actions he took with regards to the border barriers and the actions he's taking now,
Well,
the Supreme
Well,
Court
hold
hadn't
on.
ruled.
If the Supreme Court ruled in favor, and they hadn't ruled, and they ruled in favor, then it's pretty clear that Texas is the constitutional authority. Unless you're saying that you
That's
know more
true,
than the Supreme
but it
Court.
hasn't been ruled yet.
Okay. I wanted to move this along a little bit. To Gibbs and his side, is there ever a time where you think we would be too strict on border control? What would be too draconian, or are there limits to what you would think a state or the U.S. should do in order to prevent people from illegally crossing the border? And what are those, please?
Well, so I want to first say I have been a very big proponent of we definitely need immigration reform in regards to legal immigration, right? We have 29 ports of entry here in Texas. I think it's the most of any state in the United States, right? There's 29 ports of entry. There's absolutely no reason that you shouldn't be going through port of entry and following through that. Now, if the reason we can't do it is because it's backlogged and all these other things, there needs to be some kind of immigration reform. The asylum system is not working. Yeah, absolutely. Now, as far as too draconian, no, I absolutely don't think there's anything too draconian. If we need to be sending out drones to be striking women and children as they go across the border, then we absolutely should be doing it, because there's a nation that does not enforce its border is absolutely no nation at all. That's ridiculous.
Tactical nukes.
Yeah, I mean, whatever it takes. I mean, if we need to go out there and we need to secure this border and across the whole barrier. And then we allow people with immigration reform to come through the borders. If you don't have a secure border, you don't even have a nation. I mean, why are we even doing this then? Why we vote at all? I mean, because we clearly it doesn't matter. We're just everybody come willy nilly. We've caught 58 of 59 terror watch list suspects this year, and they've all 58 of those 59 have come through the southern border. So you're not going to sit here and tell me bad things aren't happening. We have a narcotics trade that's free flowing into the United States from the cartels along the border. I mean, yeah. So I don't think we're not. I mean, there might be a point where it's too draconian, but it's somewhere way down the road, and we ain't anywhere near it yet.
Hold on,
Their
Jason.
drone
Before you
strikes.
respond, let me answer
I was gonna
Rick's
say,
question.
Tyler, you want to lump in with that side?
Yeah, I am on that side. Unfortunately, I don't go that far. So I personally
Satellite
think,
lasers.
yeah,
Oh no.
I think there's two different types of resistance, and anything that causes offensive harm to people trying to come in illegally is too far. We are the beacon of freedom. We are the best country in the world. We are America. We're exemplary, and we need to display that in our border policy and every action. We cannot be putting barbed wire up and hurting people that want to come in here illegally. We politely turn them down, and we export them politely out back into their own fucking country. So, like, these are human beings. We need to treat them humanely. Absolutely, you can go too far as soon as your policy cause active harm. Now, if it's indirect, like if you have a wall and somebody bashes their fucking head into the wall, that's not the fault of the border policy. Absolutely,
What about razor
But-
wire?
absolutely not. Anything that hurts people from touching it, absolutely not. We have Gibbs. We can control the border without harming people. We're above that.
Hey.
We're America. We're the highest
Are you-
standard
are
of
you
Hey,
civility.
joking?
Gibbs, I got a
But
question
wonder
for
what
you.
the-
Gibbs,
Why? Do you have a military base, right? For example, do they have concertina wire around the military base?
around the
I live right
military
next to
base?
Fort
Yeah, it's a
Eisenhower,
military
South
base with
Carolina.
armaments in it. With
Yeah.
armaments,
So they
ordnance,
do
and
have-
United States
So, like,
personnel.
how about like when you go to like I don't know if they tow your car? Do they have like concertina wire or razor wire
I
around?
get
Like,
it.
Yeah,
Yes,
because they
yes, they
towed your
do.
car
Keep
because
the
you were
wire-
parked in a
wire-
no-tow zone. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And so they,
But
they
we
take
don't.
that.
We're
They
sending a
have razor
national
wire, right?
signal. We need to send a better national signal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
our national signal is that we have a limp dick border. That's what our national
No,
So
signal
we
you
can have a
prefer that
strong
our
border
national
without
signal
hurting
is
people.
drone
Like,
striking
we should
women and
build a
children on the
firmament
border? Just to be clear,
around America.
your position is that it is a net benefit to the United States as a whole to drone strike women and children on the Mexican border to keep them out of our
Absolutely.
country, rather than even maintain the current levels of illegal immigration. Just making sure that's the position you're actually taking.
We have to have the deterrent. I mean, whatever it takes. We got to stop the flow. Of
Okay,
people
all
coming.
right, cool. I don't
I mean,
think that's
I
a
know that
rational
sounds
position to
hard.
take, but
I
you're
mean,
free
it
to
is
take it.
absolutely. I mean, I'm sorry that you want to have a limp dick response where we're just going to let everybody willy nilly
I
come
don't think
in.
not
and you're
murdering
afraid-
women and
you're
children
afraid
is a
of
limp
having
dick response. I think it's
razor
basic
wire.
humanity, but that's just me. I don't know. Maybe I'm
Humanity.
alone in
Well,
my
yeah, I
room.
think maybe because I care about Americans first.
You don't
Yeah,
give a shit about
that is-
America,
Nobody
Dave.
would vote for
Okay.
You don't care
policy.
about America.
Okay, I wanna hold on. I wanna pass the ball to Ali, and then Socrates, and then maybe Tuda Chip if he has something to say. Go ahead, Ali.
I just think the better solution, just build a firmament around America. Just build a dome entirely, right? And we could just live like the Simpsons. No one gets in or out at all. No immigration at all. Just one big dome around America until we all die out. I think that seems like the best option right now.
Based.
Yeah.
Socrates, please.
So I just wanted to, note the factual point that in fact nations have existed before about 100 years ago, and before about 100 years ago, pretty much nowhere had particularly strong border policies. This is a relatively new thing that we've become obsessed with. That, oh God, if people come into our nation and settle here and have jobs here and have families here, then our way of life will fall apart. That's how humanity has existed for almost all of human history. Is people migrate to different areas, they work, they live, they have families.
Well, outside of the Great Wall of China, right? That bitch. That was the first border patrol.
So
Yeah,
Socrates,
yeah.
you're in
We had-
favor of open borders then? You're in favor of fully
Different-
open borders?
100 years ago, we had no regulations over nukes. So
So
Yeah, that's like a nod.
Yeah, but
100
immigration
years
existed
ago.
100 years ago and nukes didn't. That's not a non sequitur.
I mean, you're also wrong. Like historically, you're totally wrong. Like,
No.
how many times in history do we have examples of like I don't know the Moorish invasion or the Crusades? Like, what happened?
The Crusades?
Hold on. Do you think that this is an
Pretty far
invasion?
back there, yeah.
It's absolutely an invasion. It's
Under
absolutely
what
an invasion.
definition? I love this argument. Under what definition?
Under every definition, it's violent
Pick one.
crime. Oh, okay. Well, I'm trying to give it to you. It's literally a mass of humanity in the millions that's causing violent
They're
crime.
not.
babies.
They are.
They're not.
I mean,
They are
I guess-
Where's the,
Babies.
where's
How
the
did Lincoln
data to
Riley
support
die?
illegal
Did
immigrants causing a
Lincoln-
rise in crime?
Did
Please show me
Lincoln
that.
Riley just like if one American dies from it, then it's one American too many?
Lincoln
I mean,
Riley?
So yeah. So as Lincoln Riley died, I guess God just zapped him lightning bolt from heaven and she didn't get killed by an
So-
illegal alien.
so-
Like, yeah, so you're sitting here lying, and like first of all, and then second of all, yeah, you asked me the definition. I'm trying to give you. It's violent crime. We have a negative influence because we have tons of people come in and we don't have the infrastructure. It's a massive humanity moving from one location to another. I don't get how it's not. Like, for example, the population of Corpus Christi is about 400,000 people. Just in 2 months last year, October and November, we had over 400,000 people cross into Texas illegally. So you're going to sit here and tell me, oh, that's not a massive problem when you have the same amount of people as maybe like the 8th biggest port by like volume coming into the U.S.? Like,
I'm going
at
to
once,
keep telling
like,
you
where are we
that that's
supposed to
not a
house
problem
these
until you
people?
show me data to support it. Yeah.
It's
It's
absolutely a
true.
problem.
They're
Okay,
not coming in
absolutely.
illegally.
Wait, I want to respond to Gibbs. I want to respond to
Please,
Gibbs because
please,
he called me
you're
a
gonna have a
liar.
super chat to read, but go ahead.
Okay, so in the early 20th century, between about 1910 to 1920, Mexican Civil War, about 10% of Mexico immigrated or migrated to the Southwest. 10% of Mexico moved over to the Southwest. Was that the end of America? Did America end?
I think it did.
Was
yeah.
that it?
That was
I don't
it.
think anyone's making the
Like an
point that America would be
undead-
over. Like, you're arguing a straw man here.
Yeah, I don't know.
Got it.
I don't know about that. And also, I don't think that it's like I don't like the idea that just because immigration policy 100 years ago was different than it is now doesn't mean that we don't need immigration policy. The world is different than it was 100 years ago. Very, very different.
Empty.
Been radically
I mean,
changed
well, I
in the
think,
past 50
to
years.
You can't
Socrates'
just say that
point-
it's
hold on.
different. Yeah.
Socrates' point, though, the question was, is this an invasion? And again, if we've had 10%, if his stats are correct, and 10% of the population of Mexico did, between 10 years, go from Mexico to the Southwest United States, if that wasn't an invasion, right, why would it be today? $10 from Less Than Sell, then we'll go to Tuna Chip. Less Than Sell says, borders have always existed since pre-civilization. In fact, animals have territories, which is a kind of border, and they also protect it. Why can't we have a border and scan who goes in and out of it? Thank you for the $10. I really appreciate you. Go ahead, Tuna.
Yeah, it's hard to get much input because we're talking about the specific case, but and also the abstract at the same time. I'm going to try and just talk about the abstract because with the specific case, I think it's pretty easy to just say we have enough people voting in favor of sealing down the border. If we don't take that seriously, then we're undermining the very process that we are appealing to when we say, oh, we should let people in because it's such a good nation. We need to create economic benefit for that nation. Now, if we're talking about, like, should we be allowed to have a border? Obviously, we should be allowed to have a border because the border is the thing that gives purpose to those infrastructural changes that we're trying to, like, add to somebody. The fact that we have a border at all, the fact that there is difference between one section of land and another section of land is the only reason that migration is happening to begin with. Because if there wasn't a border, if it wasn't defended, there would be no reason to cross it. So as soon as you start creating that, like, transitionary realm where some people are implementing it, some people are not, it's town to town, state to state, the sooner that you're going to get people diving deeper and deeper up north, we're going to get it so that that problem consolidates at some other border. And now the United States becomes host to, at worst, it becomes host to a, like, massive conflict that becomes violent between, like, vigilantes and immigrants that they're mad at. At best, you have, like, an infrastructural problem that's going from city to city to city, trying to incorporate more and more labor. And maybe they're able to handle it, but also maybe all of the money being spent in all those cities could instead be spent doing the deportations, which apparently are so expensive to pay for. All of this accommodation can be done on the terms that the public is voting for. That's basically my piece.
I feel like we're talking up here when the debate is actually kind of more about stuff that's down here. Like, I have a whole 6 pages of citation of actual policies that have been implemented, actions that have been taken, groups of people all that have come in since Biden took office. 5 million people. I'm not talking about the people that are gotaways. 5 million people have come into the country, and the Biden administration intended to bring them in. Gibbs is using the term illegal. That hasn't been proven yet because 20 states have sued the federal government, but it's currently still in litigation. So what they did was they overestimated their parole authority and used loose language, loose definitions on work to bypass Congress and invent visa program. 500,000 or 5 million people, and again, about 2 million are asylum, about 3 million are people coming in through the Biden administration, getting notices to appear and notices to report, an immediate work visa. Same thing with the asylees. When they come into the 7, 8, 9 year backlog, they're getting immediate work visa. These people are getting right to work. What we're seeing on the border right now, this overflow, is the intended policy of the Biden administration. And again, I can show you how they're spending the money. In 2023, they had a 40% bigger budget than Trump had in 2017 on specifically border policy. They're flying people in from different countries so they don't have to be seen at the border for PR reason. It's fucking wild. This is the intended policy. And when people are pissed off at Democrats for it, they rightfully so.
Can I just ask, because you've made this pretty strong claim a number of times now, what specifically do you believe is the intended policy of the Biden administration with regards to the immigrants, and why do you think that?
Well, they've implemented a couple visas that really get pulled out. There is a visa that every year brings in 360,000 people from Venezuela. Oh, should I have it written down? Venezuela, Haiti, and 2 other countries from South America. It's 4 South American countries, most of which coming from Venezuela. These are unvetted visa programs that aren't holding up to the same rigorous standards they would have been.
Unvetted? Do you have a source? Do you have a source I can look at?
Yeah, well, yeah, no, because they haven't gone through Congress. They're unvetted because the DHS made them up, didn't put them through Congress, didn't go through any of the spending authority that they're supposed to. Every other visa program has gone through prior to them. So no, they're unvetted because they just kind of made them. They're bringing in 360,000 people a year. Now, what we're seeing in Venezuela, and this is a little bit of a conspiracy to say that they're directly tied one-to-one, but we see the prisons in Venezuela emptying out, and we're seeing Venezuelan gangs in New York City, LA, and Chicago start picking up and being active more in crime. So it's presumed that a lot of Venezuelan criminals are coming to the United States through these visa programs. Other ones, again, 300,000 or 600,000 people coming in with notices to report because their notices to appear were so overloaded.
So
Well, yeah, I mean,
again,
that speaks to what you just talked
hold on. He didn't answer my question. Again, I asked you, what do you think the policy? Because you said this is the intent of the Biden administration. So
Yeah, I gave you
what
2
do you
visa
think the
programs.
intent is, and why?
I gave you 2 of the economy. It's better for the economy. As I was saying earlier, Gibbs disagreed with it. If you look at polling trends, maybe this year it's different, but polling trends, the only people that really vote on the border are Republicans generally. Independents don't care, Hispanics don't care, white people don't generally care, the Democratic Party and independents and what. So the only people that really do it are Republicans. This is a political gamble, I think, by the Biden administration. They bring in 5 million workers, take those 10 million jobs that were unfilled, bring it down to 5, get the economy chugging. And the way Gibbs, you were saying the economy is not good because you're looking at overall CPI. Core CPI is up 30% for all good. The way to bring that down is to get more fucking supply. So you get these 5 million people working, you have more supply. Core CPI goes down because now you have the amount of goods or money chasing the right amount of goods as opposed to inflation, which is too much money chasing too few goods.
So how do you
So that's
how do you reconcile this proposed intent of the Biden administration with the fact that the Biden administration has deported more illegal immigrants deported more in the first 9 months of his presidency than Trump did in all 4 years?
Because you're looking at flat numbers. If you look at the flat numbers, the amount of immigrants that have come to the border generally under the Biden administration is something like 10 times that of the Trump administration in certain years.
Because of COVID.
So you're looking at flat numbers. If you're looking at per capita, something like 80% of immigrants that come to the border get in on these visa programs with the Biden app, with asylum claims and such.
So with that knowledge, then why do they even bother deporting them? If their intent is to keep them here to boost the economy, why even bother deporting them?
If there's some good reason, hey, we found you in a criminal database. Sorry, you can't come in. There probably is some sort of vetting going on.
You don't think if it was the intent of someone to keep the illegal immigrants here, they would find any reason to do that?
Which they are doing. They're absolutely doing that.
But they're not.
There's even been,
that's what I'm trying
they
to say
absolutely
here.
are. There's already been pushback against the Lake and Riley Act. Why would you not want criminals? These are criminals in the U.S. who are illegally here to be deported, and they're saying, "Oh no, that's too dangerous." This is like a common sense no-brainer. How can you sit here and tell me if somebody commits a crime here and they're from another country and we shouldn't ship them back?
You should. I didn't say that. You should. All I said. Well, hold on. Let's not strawman me here.
They're fighting this. They're fighting that issue. You just asked for an issue where you said, "Oh, well, can you give an example?" And I'm giving you right now now, and you're saying, well, don't straw man me. I'm
Yeah,
like, well, I'm
because
giving you
you're trying to take one incidence of an illegal immigrant committing a crime and extrapolate that onto broader sociological and criminological trends, which the data doesn't track.
But it is showing that we're having a higher influx in cartels and
Where?
gang access all across the. All right, I'll get you.
Thank you. Yes, please. Thank you. I like to learn.
Socrates, go ahead.
Yeah. So I think we can pull this together a little bit because if it's the case that we need more workers, and that's sounds like what you're saying, and I don't think there's anybody here who probably thinks that it's better to not vet people, right? I don't think, right? Is there any disagreement if we just had a policy that we're like, okay, we need this many people, we have a shitload of people who want to immigrate, through totally, vetted processes, everything, that we just say like, okay, we're just going to go down that list and just accept in a shitload more people who are actually going through typical processes. I understand they probably didn't do that. They had to do it a different way. They couldn't just massively increase the immigration through that process, but doing that the right way, accepting in lots more immigrants, having them, go through all the normal vetting. Is there anybody who disagrees with that as like a general way forward?
Not even disagree. My proposed policy that I tried theory crafting is do it algorithmically based on how many jobs are needed to be filled in the economy at the time.
Hold on, Tyler, if I may ask then. So, again, assuming the data that you are giving us is correct, and Biden, and the Biden administration is purposely have crafted a mechanism, these visas, in order to get more people in, to get more workers in, to kickstart the economy, which you admit that we need, that this is something that's good. Why are you against it? Why would you say this is bad? Or are you just reporting it, or are you putting a I disagree with this or I agree with this? What's your actual stance here?
The end doesn't justify the means argument. I don't like that they're breaking laws and redefining terms and expanding the power of the executive branch and bypassing Congress and doing all these things that.
Okay, but if they had gone through the legal way, or what you say is the legal way, you would be for it then?
I would think it would need to be slowed a little bit because we're seeing a really big influx in the city. Now, people blame Greg Abbott, but if you look at the numbers of people that have gone to New York City for asylum and visa program, Greg Abbott's not even responsible for 20% of them. It's a lot of people picking the area they want to go to. I think we need to slow that shit down. We need to let the cities jurisdict how many people are able to come in at a given time. Things like that. I think it needs to be a more robust plan that incorporates the states and these localities that these people are going. I think it needs to be something done in a more responsible adult government.
Noted.
So
I want to give the ball to Ali, then Tuna Chip, then Socrates, because I know Socrates has to go soon. So
I can stay a little bit longer, actually.
Okay, sure. Ali, then Tuna Chip, and then Socrates. That's the order we're gonna go in.
I have more of a question. It takes a little bit away from it, but you can not answer it. But so is the problem for you guys that are against the illegal immigration? Is it just the Mexican illegal immigration? What about all the people that overstay their work visas that do come from European countries that do come from, they are working, they just overstay their work visa, deport them as well?
Yeah, I would go harder. I would say that I don't personally think that just being born in the United States, even if your parents are citizens, is really enough for you to be
So
totally
you're against
exempt from
birthright
deportation.
citizenship, basically?
Wait,
I'm saying that
it's
if you don't work, you should be able to be deported from the United States. If you can't,
No disabled
if
people.
you can work and you don't, if you are nothing but an economic disbenefit, you
able-bodied,
should be on the line.
So just for my benefit here, Tuna. So illegal immigrants cross the border. They have a kid. Kid 6 years old, right? They grow up. They don't get caught. Suddenly they get caught. You think that 6-year-old who was born in the United States, born in America, should be deported?
No, I don't necessarily think that there's a deportation for the child. I think with the parents,
Birthright. When we talk about birthright
think-
citizenship, that's what would happen if they don't have citizenship here, and you are for deporting illegal immigrants. That person, that 6-year-old, because again, even though he was born in America, does not have American citizenship. What do we do with them?
I don't think that citizenship should be the thing that we use to apply. You're talking about this idea that if you're born on the soil, that's the thing that justifies you. I'm saying whether or not you are a useful member of the economy. If you are being raised in a place that is teaching you in the American education system, if you're able to be raised by some form of guardian and you're not just like thrown to the wolves, if you have some kind of alternative to the parents which are being deported, you should be given that as an option. The parents should be given that as an option. I don't personally think that tossing somebody out that could be useful is worth the money. Now, if somebody has broken a law, that's a little bit different. But in the case of the child, no. Put them to work. And if they grow up and don't get a job, toss them out.
Were you saying that for like American born, like just like I'm
all American
my
citizens.
parents are citizens. Yes,
All
any
American
American citizen.
All
Yeah.
American citizens.
So it's
period.
not even illegal immigrants or not. So if you're just if you are an American citizen, where do you get deported to if you're not working?
You just get exiled to
The ocean.
literally anywhere, tossed out into Canada,
You
and
get
then they
tossed
can
onto the
choose what to
drone
do with you.
border. You have to try and
No, America,
restore
they'll throw you back over the
Okay,
fence.
okay.
It'll be a sort of volleyball type situation.
It's back and forth.
Okay, so $2 for Testicle Johnson to say build the wall, free January 6th Patriots, God bless Trump. Thank you for the $2, Testicle Johnson. So again, this is just people in general, like everyone in America. If you don't
Yeah.
work, you go away.
Yep.
Yeah,
Send them to the
if
moon.
somebody is,
That's your
if
stance.
you, let's put it this way:
No welfare
homeless
system.
people, but fill the bus, fill the
Get 'em
bus.
out of here.
Yep.
So,
Yeah,
so
and, you know,
we
people-
remove the welfare program, we remove the social security program, we keep all that money, right? And then if you're not
What about
working, you just get the
streamers?
fuck out.
Does that count as working?
No,
They're paying
No.
If
taxes.
you are able to
They're
get
paying
people,
taxes.
no.
if you're able to get, this is the sole job. I don't have the wallet in my pocket because we're an industrialized nation. The sole job of any worker is to get somebody to open the wallet, remove the money, and give it to them. If you can't make that happen, if you can't make funds circulate, including if you never engage in purchase too, maybe you're sort of like scam in the system and you've got a whole shit ton of money. If you're not making the economy actually churn, if that's the mark we're working with, that's the natural conclusion of the thing. You probably should not be a United States citizen.
Is direct
hold up.
participation
This guy-
is direct participation the only way that you can be a measurable benefit to the economy?
Yeah, what the fuck? This guy wants to get rid of Jesse the Body Ventura.
Yeah, no,
Is
but,
direct
but
participation. What do you
seriously.
mean?
Buying and selling is the only
measure
way that you
is there
can-
other? What
Huh?
measure is there other?
Huh? I don't think that you have to be directly involved in the selling and buying of goods. You can be involved in manufacturing process. You can be involved in shipping processes.
As long as you're paying taxes, is I think.
And
Yeah,
as long as you're able to pay taxes.
I think it's a little reductionist to say if you don't buy or sell, get out.
It's not merely buy or
Don't
sell.
buy
It's if you
and
don't
sell.
contribute value. Production's a form of contributing value.
Yeah, okay, fine.
And like you
fair.
said, you get taxed on that.
Nina Soda.
I want to give the poll to Socrates to help us out here.
No, I love it. I mean,
Go
I
ahead.
think there should be also like a ratio where if you have a huge amount of income but you're not spending very much, so all these billionaires who are sitting on these fat stacks, it's not circulating in the economy. It's bullshit. We should deport them. I'm with you 100%.
Absolutely.
Gibbs don't like this.
I don't.
Yeah, that's terrible. That's terrible.
Wait, why?
What
If
are you
it's
talking
not
about?
participating in the economy,
Who of value is lost?
participating- Yeah, if
Who of
someone's
value is
participating,
lost?
they stay. If they're not participating, they
Listen,
leave.
capitalism takes care of that. You don't work, you don't eat. All right, we don't have
Yeah,
to
I
blame
mean,
you all.
not only that, not only that, you know, act like
Does
these
it?
billionaires are just sitting on their ass, like not like buying, like and
Well,
selling.
they're
shit.
not spending their money.
They
No,
are
they're keeping their
absolutely
money.
spending their money. They're spending their money strategically, which is why they became billionaires. I mean, like that's like this is the dumbest.
Or they
shit
stopped
I've
buying
ever
the
heard.
avocado
I-
toast, and then they became billionaires. Don't you guys know how this
Mhm.
works?
I mean, like, okay, so like people bitching at Elon Musk. Elon Musk is over here building a literal city, like in Texas.
Okay, how much avocado toast is he buying though?
Yeah, exactly.
shit about
How
the
many
avocado?
slices a day?
Like,
No,
I mean,
no,
I guess
and-
I'm not real
How
worried
many
about that.
cafe mocha frappuccino's, huh?
You've skipped over into this whole billionaire thing. And the thing is, when you go into any of these billionaires,
Let me
most
tell you
of
a
the
number.
people
Let me
pay-
tell you. Let me tell you.
I want to actually finish a fucking sentence.
Okay,
In
go
the
ahead.
in the case of most of these people, the people that your brain is going to, these are productive people. These are people that if you look into them, they have a net value, right? It's not just raw money sitting in a bank doing fuck all. They are circulating it. They are building jobs. They are starting economic growth for other people. Those aren't the people I'm going after, buddy. I'm going after the bums hanging out under the fucking highway, I'm talking about your uncle who refuses to get anything other than a Taco Bell job. He's constantly applying for grants that he doesn't deserve. I'm talking about anybody that's going to be a leech on that system that doesn't have some promise of return after being brought to a state of repair.
People got to work at Taco Bell.
I mean,
No,
I'm
they
actually,
don't.
That's pretty dumb.
that's
Yeah,
better than
people
going
got to
after
work at Taco Bell.
Not for
Let's
long,
go.
buddy.
We gotta have people
Let
on Taco
me-
Bell.
let
We
me-
gotta
let
have
me
people
add a
cleaning
number
the
to this.
sewers. We gotta have people sweeping the streets, and we gotta have people doing the high flying executive jobs. Okay, we gotta have every one of these levels filled in order to have a functioning economy. So, like, if your uncle wants to work at Taco Bell and that's what he thrives at, and he boosts the economy in whatever small role he's in, fuck it, let him.
Interesting argument. Counterpoint. Beep boop. You're going to be replaced. Anybody who is less valuable than a fucking robot, get him out of America.
Okay, we're giving it to Gibbs. Gibbs has been.
Yeah,
trying
I was
to
gonna.
stay
I was gonna say, yeah. There's a number that really old. That is. You know how much it costs to deport somebody like permanently? $10,000. That's the
Damn.
cost, according to the U.S. government.
Yeah.
That's a pretty low number, like compared to a lot of these other funds. But we're gonna sit here and put them on social programs where it's costing cities like New York millions, and they can't even house their own homeless populations. Whenever we could just be spending $10,000 a head and shipping them back to
It
Guatemala.
costs more
or
than
Venezuela.
10,000.
And why would
That's
we
not-
spend that
it
money
costs
when
the
while they're here, there are
individual
benefits to the
costs.
economy?
Also,
Wait,
I
the
want to
individual
bring up one
costs-
other thing here. But like
Go ahead.
that was, and then you can go. Is someone brought up the 1920s immigration? What happened in 1929? The Great Depression. Guess where all those immigrants went back to? They all went back to Mexico. That was not brought up. And the other thing is Mexico did have a war, and there was actually areas of that was violence on U.S. soil due to that war because of some of that spilling over here in the United States. And there was even like a potential rebellion at one point in Arizona over that. So you're not going to sit here and tell me, oh, everything was all well and good in the 20s whenever they all jumped ship and left the minute our economy crashed because they were sitting here being leeches on the society and sending the money back home. Like that's what was happening. So you can't sit here and use that as the example whenever it was a bad example.
So
Go ahead.
it costs more. It costs more than 10,000. The 10,000 would be the cost to remove them, but then all the money they're not spending here and paying into here is the money that you're losing. That's probably not being considered. Would anyone be obviously we're not gonna do this, but what if we just annexed Mexico? We just made Mexico part of
Hey,
America.
I
It's an
meme about
American
that all the
territory,
time in politics. I talk
right?
about how every country is a
we
future
make it
state.
an American territory, and
Hell yeah.
what is
Then
anyone
they're
opposed to
American
that?
citizens.
Tyler,
Then
Tyler.
don't worry about it.
It has to be subject to U.S. rule of
It
law
wants to
because
put
Mexico
numbers.
I mean, yeah.
City,
So is Puerto Rico and some of Puerto
Mexico
Rico.
City is
I've got
10 times more violent in terms
Hold
of
on.
murder rate than our
Okay.
most dangerous city.
Okay, hold on. We have gone a little far afield.
I'm
wanna
solving
answer
the
the
problem.
question.
Wick.
I
I'm
wanna
solving
answer
the
the question.
problem.
Let me answer the question. We need Mexico to be down there so that you can get ayahuasca therapy, so you can go down there and get medical tourism. The entire world is accessible by people that have R&D money, the type of money where you can just go wherever you want, turn the laws off. That's what Mexico's for. I go down there, I get a couple of hookers, I get some fucking worm at the bottom of the bottle, and I cut my cock off for $15 American. It's easy. That's
You don't
what we
want
need.
medicine.
And you shouldn't
True
need to get your
patriot.
passport out
True
to do it.
patriot.
It's a
I want-
hassle.
I want to recenter this on some less sci-fi concepts, right? I want to talk about illegal immigration, illegal immigrants, and the crime rate, right? It's been said a few times, right, that illegal immigrants commit less crime than legal immigrants. One, is that true? Two,
Yes.
right? What should be done to those who do break the law? So I'm not talking about murder, rape, etc. I'm talking about lesser laws. So if you were an illegal immigrant and you were caught speeding, or you have a parking ticket, or something to that effect, should we be deporting these people?
Just give them a higher fine. If they're gonna have to pay it, we know who they are. You can track them. Just give them a higher fine, and then you're just making more money off these people.
That to me is pro illegal immigration. If you catch somebody here, an authority catches somebody here illegally and does not deport them right then and there, that is pro illegal immigration in my
Well,
mind.
to be clear,
So,
if you were pulled over by a state trooper for speeding and they asked to see your immigration status and you were an illegal immigrant, they don't have the authority to deport you. So
Yeah, I
they
get
have to
that.
turn
but
you
like
over to
the
Should
federal
import-
they?
services.
Yeah,
No,
I
they, no,
get
they
it.
absolutely
Hold on,
shouldn't.
hold on.
No,
Should
the
they?
federal government is the
No.
only one who should have any jurisdiction with regard to immigration or border enforcement. I don't understand how this is even a topic of
Aren't
discussion.
state troopers
Fake
federal?
news.
Okay, yeah, it's
But
fake
it-
news. That's why.
if you're in favor of leaving people here that are here illegally, and even if they don't commit a crime, I think they should go if you catch them. But you're saying like, oh, they got caught speeding, we found that they're illegal immigrant. Let's not report them. Let's leave them here. That to me is pro illegal immigration. You're saying just allow it to keep happening. So that, I don't know. And in terms of crime, I don't know about all crime in general. I know a lot of times it gets bunched. What I do know are there two studies I could find. One of them was the Cato Institute. One of them was a guy named John Lott looking at Arizona prison. If you look at the per capita that illegal immigrants are in a U.S. prisons for violent crimes, including murder, it's almost double the rate of U.S. citizens.
Yeah.
So it's hard data to find. If anybody has any more data, I'd love to take a look at it because I dug for a bit. But from what I saw from these two studies, is that in Texas and Arizona, two borders, illegal immigrants are in crime more often, in jail more often for violent crimes. So
Yeah, I have a study from 2016 here, basically saying that there's a 40% more.
that was
Uh,
John Lott in Arizona. I'm pretty sure you're talking about.
yeah, I think it's the same thing. That basically, yeah, they're saying it's 40% more. The prisoners specifically undocumented individuals that make up the at the federal level, and it's harder to find the crime at the local level because they deal with it a lot differently.
Okay. Given that data, Socrates, you were pretty confident that they commit less crime. Do you want to
Yeah,
address this, please?
I have something I can put in the chat, but like the basic stats of immigrant men today are 60% less likely to be incarcerated compared to natural born citizens, less likely to be involved. So either committing or victims of a crime. So I don't know if it's just, people kind of moving in groups to areas and just being chill with each other.
You're saying immigrant though, right? It's like all immigrants generally legal or not. I'm just focusing on illegal specifically with my.
Yeah, I was looking for some stats for that. I could
Because legal immigrant,
Not to-
model
not to
citizens.
drag you, not to drag you over coals. Your point was actually, first off, immigrants, period, less crime, and it stands to reason. I believe that this was your argument, is that it stands to reason that anyone who is here illegally would be extra careful to not commit a crime, or at least not get caught committing a crime, because there are higher stakes on it. I guess the question then is, if the stakes aren't enforced.
No, I agree with that. I think that's fair. I mean, I think we need an overhaul of the immigration system. I think we need amnesty and naturalization for people who are here illegally. But that incentive to commit less crime, if indeed that's the reason that illegal immigrants are more careful about not committing crimes, or maybe just not getting caught, who knows? If we don't enforce that penalty, then that incentive goes away. I think that is fair reasoning. For sure.
It's more likely than not that they're not getting caught realistically. I don't assume every illegal immigrant is just a model citizen just for the sake of I don't want to sit here and just try to do that. But they're probably just not getting caught. Which honestly, listen, the people that are breaking in, if they're able to do so, break in, work, pay for their shit, pay for their sales tax, they aren't getting caught committing the crime, so they're not doing the crime. I don't see the argument against naturalizing. You vetted them at that point, right? If they've been in the country for X amount of years, 1, 2, 3 years, they're not doing anything. At that point, are they not vetted?
In a sense,
and so then that would be my argument for naturalization, right? You have the lists of people that are doing the shit. For the people that aren't committing the crimes, naturalize them. For anyone who's committing crimes, you already know where they are. Sure, deport them. I actually don't really personally care. I do think it's more expensive to deport than to keep, but we don't want criminals that don't have social security cards or IDs in this country. So I'm cool with that, but it just would make more sense to just naturalize the ones that are here following the rules, and so that then we can go forward with a better immigration policy.
Can I ask a question? Because the pro immigration, I want to say pro illegal. I don't want to smear you guys here, like the pro illegal immigrations. You guys keep making economic arguments here, but if you want to make the economic argument, you can make that across the board in a lot of ways. Like our current system is based on bringing in family members and things like that. And Trump tried to shift it to a more merit-based system. So if you're making these economic arguments, wouldn't you want to pull in the economic migrants that are going to benefit the economy the most? And then I just saw on Facebook, I want to say it's Nigerian, are twice as likely to start a business and have a 4-year degree than U.S. citizens if they were born here or not born here.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
because
so
when Nigerians
I just want people to work.
come to America, they're usually better off than native-born Americans. They come
Yeah.
here with pre-existing wealth, so that
Some money.
So don't we want
figures,
to?
yeah.
Don't we want to bleed them dry if they're smart people? For
No.
Well, all right. I'm actually,
We can't have a country of entrepreneurs and business owners.
Well,
We do need people that are working low wage and low skilled jobs. So I honestly, anyone who wants to come here and work and pay into taxes and be an American citizen, I think should be able to. Whether or not whether we take the best of some of the country's people or the low skilled of the country, as long as they're coming here and they're doing work.
People say they want to come here at once. It overloads our economy completely until cities can't handle it.
Yeah, but it hasn't done that.
They're already doing that, right? They're already coming here in the millions, right? So
And it's not overloading the economy.
Yeah. Sorry?
It's not overloading the economy. They're already coming here, and they're
A
not
billion
overloading the
people
economy.
decide in one day. Tomorrow,
A
Obviously,
million
yeah.
people in one
Yeah,
day. Yeah, that's a
hold on.
ridiculous
Yeah,
I'm just,
hypothetical.
it is
Yeah.
way crazy. I'm just giving you as a hypothetical
Yeah.
example.
Of
Just
course.
to, like,
Well,
argue
but
against
they're
my
already coming
my
over here in the millions. They're coming over here in the millions. They're already here. Even if you remove like the economics, we can American citizens aren't all the greatest citizens. We have American gangs, we have
watch
American
it.
criminals, we have all of these things. So the people that are already here, if we just focus on strictly just deporting them and not naturalizing them, just off the fact that there's a criminal, they're not. It's not a different problem just because they're Mexicans. Like crime is still crime, whatever it is. So you can still deport the people that you need to deport that are doing. I think harsher crimes, right? More violent crimes. But I just don't hear an argument for not keeping the people that we already have here that are already they're sucking on our system. We might as well have them pay into it and play.
I suppose Gibbs might have that argument.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That was my. That
I
was
was just to argue against my own side for a second. It's my, it might hurt. But to be fair, I have an article here, and it's from the Wall Street Journal, and it's basically saying Latinos this year have created 36% of the new businesses that have been opened. So Latinos are definitely they're starting business at a higher rate than almost any other group. However, I don't know whether or not that is immigrants, because Latinos is a pretty wide spectrum. I'm Latino. I opened up the new business this year, this year. Does that count? I guess. But so to be fair, yeah, Latinos are actively working in that regard. But the problem with the immigration is, once again, it's the infrastructure is the big one. We don't have the infrastructure built down here that we need. We need to stop the flow. And then there is crime. There is some crime, and even if it is. Yeah. Less or debatable less or whatever. If one American citizen dies to an illegal immigrant, that's one citizen too many, because our duty is to the Americans first. And I don't know why that's this revolutionary concept.
It's not. But if we're already overloaded in the immigration, right? We can't get these people naturalized. We can't get these people citizenship because they're overloaded with work. It's taking too long. Blah blah blah. Why would it be? Why would the answer to that be then? Okay, well, let's not focus on that, but let's focus rather on the deporting of the people instead of making the system better for them to become immigrants.
We also can't have band-aid solutions like the 86 Immigration Act. All that did was create consequences and ban employers from hiring known illegal immigrants, and then it naturalized a bunch of people. But that's it. That's all it did. So it needs to be something like that paired with immigration reform. Our immigration, does everybody agree that our immigration systems wholly need to be revamped? They need work?
Yeah.
I think the actual main system of immigration, I'm currently working with my fiance through it right now. I think it works just fine.
Wouldn't you think
How
it
long
would be
does it take
nicer to
for
get her
someone-
in sooner than 2
9 months.
years, which is the average waiting time for people?
Well, the average waiting time for a K-1 fiance visa is about 9 months.
Sure,
Average
but that's
for any immigrant. I said 2 years for legal
Oh,
naturalization.
it takes a little while. There's a lot of paperwork that needs to be done.
You're just hand waving it, but I see that as a problem. I think this country is fucking awesome, and I want more people to live here. But why is the process so lengthy and complicated?
And we're trying to focus on deporting the people rather than making that process easier. And so instead of taking the money that we want to put into deportation, we should be taking that money and be putting it into naturalizing and making it.
The only way I could really argue
structure that
against
needs to be built, then
The only way I
let's
could
just
really
use that money,
argue-
build it.
We'd
Yeah,
have to
that's-
dive in specifically to what our immigration, like the process is over those 2 years that you're trying to become a citizen for me to really argue against this point.
From,
I would
from
have to say
anecdotal
that the
evidence,
reason,
it's a lot of waiting.
sure,
mean,
but maybe
it's
it's for a
anecdotal.
reason. I don't know why. I'd
I
have to
mean,
look
sure,
deeper.
but we're not doing that. We're not focusing on that. We can say that it's going to take too long to look at that. But during this time, while we're not immigrating people, while we're not naturalizing people, we have a bunch of people coming in illegally. And to your guys' point, they're committing the crimes. They're lowering the wages. They're fucking the economy, so on and so forth. So I mean, I don't see the argument against it other than, well, I don't know, and like it just takes whatever time it takes. Like I don't see the argument against not
It's a rule of law
focusing
argument.
on that versus focusing on deporting, which I think would fuck our economy way more.
I think what you're kind of saying here is like everybody that's been in the country hasn't committed a crime is very practical and would probably be what it would look like at the end of negotiation. But I think that the point you're missing here is respect for rule of law.
Which Abbott doesn't
If
have.
you- if
He's
you,
the only one upholding the laws of the
Oh,
country.
right. I forgot.
I'm just
Sorry,
saying-
yeah.
He's securing
if
the
you
border. You're right. Yeah.
take
So
20
it is
million
restricted.
people-
Overstepping his authority as a state
Law.
governor, yeah.
I mean,
It
he's
just-
doing what the U.S.
I
government should
wanna-
be doing.
Yeah, I want to pass the ball to Tuna Chip for a minute. He's going
I think
crazy.
we need to pause on this, and because there's a butting of heads between two different things that seem like they're the same, but they're not really quite the same. Which is whether or not we feel like we are beholden to what we believe to be the best interest of the American public, or are we beholden to what the system that they vote into actually decides.
Second one.
And if it is on the books as a law, then why is it not enforced? Why is that not something that that should be a cross-party opinion? That if the government does not follow the law, if it doesn't execute on what it says, then every single thing that you go to the government looking for them to implement can at any point just be laxly applied, not applied, hyper applied every 4 years, just shifting in terms of how important it is. That's not legitimate. So, like, do we care more about what we, for the 4 years that we're in office, 8 years that we're in office, think the best interest of the people is, or do we care about what actually fucking is, like, voted in?
We've kind of already addressed that point. The laws that we're talking about specifically that aren't being enforced, what the law does is gives them the authority to do it, but it doesn't mandate that they enforce it. It gives them discretion to enforce it at their own way.
I don't
Tuna,
think
you
he's.
just real quick, Tuna, and I'll get to you in a second, JC. Tuna, you made a comment earlier that I want to actually relate to the actual topic at hand, right? You made the comment about how we should be deporting homeless people and things like that, right? People who aren't contributing. Given the fact that there is a growing housing crisis in America, right? How do you think that applies, in your opinion, to the immigration border debate right now? What, in your opinion, is the effect of this immigration on our housing prices? Is there an effect on our housing prices? Or, right, is it the fact that one of the reasons we aren't being able to build all these houses is lack of workers, which the immigration would provide? What are your thoughts?
It's not a lack of workers. We have plenty of properties that are not being rented out that could be renovated. If we're going to spend money trying to get that property to actually be livable and rentable, or God willing, purchasable, that has very, very little to do. The only way that you would say that is that cities, like I've lived in multiple cities that spend very, very high budgets on two primary things. One, intervention in crime, especially like college protest stuff during BLM was a huge spend. A lot of people started borderline militarizing their cities. And then the second one, which would just be, you don't have to bail people out if they have a second, third, fourth, fifth property that they are continuously not renovating, not making improvements on. If you're going to put that money and you're going to try and bail people out, I would be much more interested in doing what cities like Indianapolis have been doing, where they are taking money and they are saying, here's a property for $4,000, so long as every so many years you can prove that you are meeting certain renovation deadlines. we will sell this property to you that low. If you don't do it, then we can talk about seizing that property back. Stuff like that is like a positive change towards fixing it. You're not going to build a house under the bridge. You're not going to build a house in the ditch behind Wendy's.
Well, they are. They're built. You haven't seen the street wooden houses that people are building. They're getting pallets.
Well, I'm talking about like government approved, with sewer and
Ready Player
everything.
One incoming.
I want to. Go ahead, JC.
I just had a quick question. Can we really stop with the Biden isn't enforcing the law and replace it with he's not enforcing it in a way that I like? Because I mean, it's simply not true to say that Biden isn't enforcing immigration law. It's just not true. We have the deportation numbers. We know that there's legislation on the books. The DHS is working. You just aren't satisfied with the current conditions of it, which is fine. But just be honest about it. Don't misrepresent what he's actually doing.
It's political rhetoric. That's kind of like make the message as simple as possible. Is all. That's kind of
yeah.
Why
But
it's like
but by making the message as simple as possible, you've lost all meaning. You're lying.
true. That's most of the time the result.
No, this is just flip-flopping is what this is. Let me just tell you the facts here. And it's real simple. Do y'all remember whenever we had, what was that crazy thing that just happened recently in 2020? COVID? Do y'all remember that? Do y'all remember when that happened? And everybody had to go get the vaccine and it was all shut down. Everybody's shutting it down except we can't go do anything. And the federal government came in and they dictated to these states, hey, you need to do these things or you won't get the funding or whatever. All that happened. Yeah, y'all remember that? Yeah, that happened. Okay, cool. What's really interesting is the same group of people that wanted all this government control over individual lives and all these people doesn't want a secure border to where we can sit here and maybe check and see if people have disease like they did at Ellis Island.
Do you think
back
that
in the day.
immigration? Hold on, Gibbs. Do you think that immigration and a pandemic are equivalent things?
I do think that they are equivalent things. Whenever we're seeing a rise of diseases like leprosy returning, and it's due to things like in immigrant areas like that. It's just that we need to be knowing who's coming across the border, just at least for even that reason. Like even if it's like one person that's got one disease, they can spread it to a ton of them. I'm not saying migrants in general are causing it. I'm just saying this is a safety valve that's really funny to me that they don't want anybody to like. That we don't care. We're not like, look, we don't care that just millions of people are coming and we don't have any kind of like gauge on what kind of diseases could be coming. That's just one concern, along with all the blatant crime and all the other things we listed. And we haven't even touched that subject. But we're going to sit here and say, oh, the federal government is doing a good job by not enforcing the border.
I do remember COVID-19, and as I remember, the people who were protesting against the lockdowns.
One at a time. One at a time.
As I remember
Ollie's and
COVID-19,
JC.
the people
Bring it
protesting
down.
against the lockdowns
Look,
were the ones
hold on.
who are also protesting against the lack of action at the border, not the other way around.
Ollie, go ahead.
Are we doing blood work on migrants, on immigrants, to see if they have any diseases
Bringing
that
back the
we
old
They used to. They did it. They did it in the Ellis Island days.
HR2 would require that.
HR2 is bunk and crap.
Are
It's
we gonna start
pretty
doing
good.
IQ? Are we gonna start doing IQ tests for immigration too?
My boy Fetterman likes it, so I like it.
Oh well, I mean, he's what Fetterman.
Yeah, no,
you know?
I didn't know we were doing blood work during Ellis Isle times, and I didn't know that we were trying to do blood work again. That's
HR2 would take the DNA of every migrant that came in and use that for E-Verify. They would start a DNA
HR2 is a completely one-sided,
Oh.
hyper-conservative, hyper-anti-immigration bill that would never get passed. Sort of.
wait.
Fetterman
Okay,
said he
so
passed it.
Is it only for
Fetterman
migrants?
did.
Are they going to start? Are they going to start taking the DNA of American, just like American citizens?
Hell
and
no, I'm a
also have
goddamn
it?
citizen.
What makes
Oh,
you
okay. So only if you want
Goddamn
to.
government.
So if you want to become a citizen, we need your DNA. If you are a citizen, we don't need your
Yeah, it is a
DNA.
little fucked up,
Oh,
though.
base,
Yeah, it
base,
is a little
base.
fucked
Listen,
Is
I
that
was born here,
consistent?
so I'm good.
It is a little fun. So I just want to go back to my other point, though. You guys keep going to economy. What's good for the economy? I keep hearing it, but like, and then as soon as I said, all right, well, let's go full force for the economy and start getting the people here that actually contribute most of the GDP. You're like, let's bring in.
I
the-
said
let's
bring anyone who wants to
Yeah,
work.
nobody's
I said
arguing
anyone
against
who
that,
wants to
dude.
work, and they can bring them. I don't care if they're high skill. I don't care if they're low skill, because we need low skill labor. We don't have low
We
skill
do.
labor. No one wants to
Why do
work.
we need low skill labor?
one-
Can I just check
Because
that?
no
Can I
one,
just
because
check
no
that?
one, because no one wants to work the jobs. We have people that
Right.
don't have any higher skills. So we need people to come work these jobs that no one else is willing
Why?
to do.
Why not just let the jobs, which are being
Go automated.
automated, get
Yeah.
automated, reduce in size, and have people
Yeah.
that are actually useful work
How
useful
long
jobs.
is that going to take? Before we
Automation's only
automate
gonna-
every,
It
before
literally
we
just-
automate every farm, before we automate every McDonald's, before we
That's not
automate
gonna happen.
every one of these things, that's going to take forever.
Do you
And we're
think-
just
do you
going to
think
take
that those farms have to be on U.S. land? Do you think that all of the food that we are making right now is not already being worked by people that have massive tool automation at their disposal? Farmers are not just out here fucking hiring 50 Mexicans every time they want to get their.
They
not
literally
every
would hire
fucking
them per
farmer's just
season.
hiring
They would
50
hire them
fucking
for their
Mexicans,
season,
dude.
and that's why we have that's why the rate of the cost of groceries. So we used to bring in, they would hire illegal immigrants to work their crop season, and then we would have cheaper fruits and vegetables.
Now
We
they
don't
have to hire
have that now
citizens,
because
yeah.
we're not bringing anybody in to work these low jobs. The Americans don't want to work them because they think they think those jobs are beneath them. So we're just over here getting fucked. The farmers are now, yes, they have to pay for more pay for a machine, do more of the work, but now the groceries cost more.
It's not just hold on.
Are
It's not just
they-
that those jobs are beneath them. It's that they fucking suck. So if we have people who are coming
hold up,
here
man.
voluntarily
There are
that
people
want
that
to
think
work
that
those
it's
jobs, why
suck,
would we
the
turn
jobs
them
sucks, but it
away?
doesn't matter. They think they're beneath.
No. Let's be clear. Let's be clear, JC. You're one of the eaters that thinks that you're above manual labor, right?
No.
That's what's going on
What are
here.
you talking about?
That sociologic is saying that people
I
like
work a
you,
manual labor job. What the
right,
fuck
are
are you
suckling
talking
off a
about?
teat. Either work a useful
You're
job that's
accusing
able
a
to make enough
troll of
money
not being a
or
troll.
get
Try
deported.
again, buddy.
I mean, let me say this though,
Oh,
because
Tuna, I'm not
I
opposed
actually
to
do
that.
own a ranch. Like I do own a ranch, right?
Yeah.
And some of what, like, there is a little bit of truth and a little bit of not truth to this argument. At least on the rancher level, I can't speak for like all farmers because we
Well,
we
wait,
look
what
at it
kind
as
of ranch?
all-
Do you own like a mass
cattle.
production ranch or an
We have a
individual
lot of
ranch?
cattle, massive. It's massive, right? And so
Okay,
we
fair.
do a lot. We sell like a lot of most of our cattle goes to HEB, and
Okay,
so
yeah,
uh,
true, fair.
anyway, so what happened, right, is we had started like when I was growing up, like when I don't know, 20 years ago, right? There were a lot of migrant workers. However, what has happened is due to automation, there's no need to hire them because a lot of this stuff has become so much more automated that you don't hire them, and the cost going down. It's a lot. It's not a direct correlation to the migrant workers kind of thing as it is opposed like kind of that you're making out. It seems to be there's a lot more. It's more with the international economics than it is with the direct like migrant worker to like the tech
Do you-
kind of thing. Because
do you-
like right now we only have one guy that's working on like for like several thousand acres, right? And he's basically just like doing everything's automated, right? Like. Or we have like dogs that do stuff, right? So it's just like you send them out and it's done. And like you go, and then I go out down to the ranch like once every few months because it's basically a computer running it now.
I mean, we are
Yeah,
looking
so
kind
like,
of.
do you think
I'm
Tyson
sorry.
chicken farms? Do you think Tyson chicken farms are fully automated? All the farms are fully automated. Are we at the point where everything's already automated, or do we have to get to a point where
It's becoming like that very quickly. Like even if you look at like the poultry like packing plants where they like they go in, like someone mentioned this earlier, the jobs suck. Yeah, they do suck. If you've ever worked like at a poultry processing plant, like you leave and you have like skin like diseases that you just get like, and I mean they're easily treatable, no big deal. But like this is the thing that people know, like you working there, and now those are starting to go automated. I think the one in College Station, for example, laid off like 30% of its workers like 2 years ago, and they're about to lay off another 30% because it's going so automated. So like, is
Okay.
it there
So
yet?
then- so
no,
then-
but it's getting there very
Yes.
quick.
So then the
I,
argument. Oh, so go ahead, Wick.
No, finish your point, but then I want to get Socrates in on this too.
So then my argument to Tuna would be, why do we need these low skilled jobs? Because okay, let's just say that the 30% of workers that were fired were just American citizens. They're not illegal immigrants. They're not even migrants. They're just natural born American citizens.
I'm gonna go with they probably were legally.
What do they do if the low skilled job that they were working, right, is now automated, and now they don't have another skill. They're too old to learn another skill, right? They're 40-year-olds. They're not about to go to school, right? What do we do with those people? And so, because since automating it is prevents the illegal immigrants from coming in, because we don't need low skilled illegal immigrant workers. But now we're automating all the low skill workers, so now the truck drivers are not going to have. They're not going to have jobs.
I'll tell you what we don't do is increase the competition for the low skill jobs that are left by bringing in millions more people from another country over the people that are here. Like I don't want to be the.
There isn't a competition for it. No one wants to work the jobs. No one wants to work the jobs. There isn't a competition for it. No one wants to work those jobs.
There will be. There will be. Frankly, this is okay. You have so little doubt in the ability for people to sink below what they currently think of themselves. People will be fighting over low barrier to entry employment. They will be fighting.
Like
we are
soon? 'Cause
currently
we need to fill those
in a
jobs.
worker positive environment. We are in an economic position. You could just walk up to an Amazon and they're begging for you. But as soon as the robots the former artists, the failed philosophers, the sophists supreme, and the Haitians and Mexicans are fighting over the same job, you're going to have the same people who years before this fight were saying, let him in, let him in, let him in. They're going to be going cutthroat against the exact same people that they were letting in. And then what you have is just a bunch of dying immigrants on the streets, starving, pissing, and shitting in the fucking streets. You're not going to have the ability to just choose whatever job you want because you went to college for it. I don't know what your proposal of the opposite is. Like, do you have a proposal on what would be done instead?
Can I jump in here on the economic arguments a little bit real fast?
I want to give it to Socrates first and foremost.
Yeah. I think this will be my closing statement, and then I've got to run.
Gotta go.
No, really appreciate getting me in on this panel. This is awesome. Tuna, you've painted a very doomer scenario. Not to say that this couldn't happen. This absolutely could happen. But we're talking about preparing for a race to the bottom when there's a lot of optimism to be had. There's a lot of ways that we can actually fight for a better world, right? So, and this is going back to Tyler, your point about bringing in the kind of workers that we especially need for our economy. Like, okay, let's actually like min-max this shit a little bit. I think there's a place for both bringing in people who optimize our economy. That's kind of like a no-brainer thing to do if you're like a country, is to do things that make your country's economy stronger. Kind of makes sense. Let's do that. And at the same time, it makes sense to accept lots and lots of immigrants in general, because this is, in terms of the best research that we have, this is the only way to help other countries effectively. So we spend a lot of money on foreign aid, and it seems to not do very much. But when people are able to immigrate and they send some money back home, and we build relations with other nations, and we have some kind of like cross-cultural thing, bridges that are formed between people who immigrate here and their families back home and their nations back home, that strengthens and makes our world safer, where we actually think of everybody in the world as neighbors, and we're not just at each other's throats, just thinking about how to hoard, build a wall around our little castle because the Huns are at the gate. That's not the only possible world that we could live in. And the more that we look at our world as just fighting, this dying world, fighting over the last little embers of the light, it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. The situations with increasing automation and losing jobs, that's a situation that if that's going to come and fuck things up, whether or not there are immigrants or illegal immigrants here or whatever. That's a situation that needs to be fought on its own right when it comes to, okay, you're not allowed to just like automate all the jobs and turn us into a worthless class or whatever, right? Like those are things that need to be fought head on, but we can't just think about this race to the bottom of like, me with my rusty pipe fighting off my fellow Americans and, any illegal immigrants around me so that I can find, the last little bit of sucrose on the candy wrapper that's like in the bottom of the dumpster, right? That's the more that we think about that world as where we're headed, the more we will make that world appear. So I would just urge, a modicum, just a modest amount of hope. And with that, I'm gonna raid off into Wick.
Thank you. Where can people find you?
You can find me at Socrates TV on Twitch and Real Socrates on YouTube. I've got a YouTube channel. Some of the Israel-Palestine debates I had with Destiny. I just watched all of, in 2 parts, Jordan Peterson and Destiny going at it. Me and GSU Gambit. Watching that. I've had a lot of conversations. Somebody who's moved pretty far right, culturally sees things very differently, but we've had like 10 hours of discourse. People on left and right talking. So that's what I'm all about. Thank you all so much.
And once again, thank you for being here a little last minute. We'll see you later. I do have a replacement for you for the last 30 minutes, but
Bye, my
Perfect.
friend.
thank you for being here. Bye.
Bye.
So, man,
See you later, Sock.
What a
Go
nice
ahead.
guy.
When you do your introduction, I'll
Challenger
jump in on the economic
approaches.
argument.
What a nice guy. Okay, we got Socrates 2.0 here. Intelligence. Thank you for the raid, Socrates TV. Really appreciate you, gang. Okay. With that said, right? Like, so where we are now, what I want to do for the last portion of this discussion is talk about fixes. How, or if there is no fix needed, how to ensure that it remains on what we would consider a good track. So thank you for the sub, Socrates TV. Really appreciate you. 21 months. Man, I've been streaming that long. That's crazy. But yes, I wanted to toss the ball first to Keldoge here, and get your thoughts on one. What should we do to either keep immigration on a good track or to fix the problem? Go ahead. You're up.
Hey, what's up, guys? Also, thanks, Wick, for letting me do the substitution. I appreciate it. So there's a couple different solutions that we can use. An interesting solution that Canada has done is to implement certain pilot programs that target certain economic needs. They've been really successful here. They've been expanded. So basically, they'll have like a pilot program, and when you apply for like immigration in certain categories, they'll basically assign you not necessarily a job, but you'll need to have like the prerequisites that are needed for the pilot. The other solution is to do more, honestly, research on what the United States needs in terms of industries. I think by targeting specific things, we can actually solve this problem in a way that's like a lot more civil and like a lot more effective.
We already do that with some higher skill jobs like H-1B visas. I'm a programmer. We have a lot of instances where H-1B visas will see a lot of programmers from different countries come in and work as my competition. And this is a field that's not that saturated, so it's a pretty high paying field. You got immigrants coming in making $30, $40 an hour right out the gate.
More than I make.
Oh yeah, for sure. But there needs to be more. Like we need to target like industries that aren't just like high paying jobs. Like
I hate to say this, but most of the jobs in the US economy are things that you can learn from 5 days of training on the work site. They're mostly low skill jobs. So, and a lot of those, as Tuna's Chip is saying, I don't have the doom and gloom Tucker Carlson approach to automation that he had, but he is right. A lot of those jobs are going to be going by the wayside. A lot of these low skill jobs. You're not going to get rid of all cooking jobs. High skilled chefs are still going to have a place in the profession, but the burger flippers at McDonald's pretty soon are going to be ruled out. We're going to have a big problem. I think that we should probably pull back on immigration for the near future.
Does pulling back on immigration solve that problem, though? Automation is still coming.
Yeah, pulling back on automation is probably a better.
No,
automation is a cause. It is one of multiple causes of the true issue, which is the consolidation of labor into too tight of a pocket in terms of like the spread of skills. We have a bunch of people that are going to college that are going to have like massive amounts of debt that they're not going to be able to pay off because that job's going to disappear. They're going to be the most competitive workers working multiple jobs in order to pay off that debt, and that's the consolidation of the economy into smaller sectors.
Okay, $5 from Rabid Wombat to say nobody wants the jobs at the pay being offered. A good leftist would force employers to pay more, not feed them brown bodies to exploit.
That was the point I was going to get to before
me?
we switched to the next subject. No, it was kind of talking about like the Ali and Gibbs were going back and forth, and those jobs that do suck that Ali was talking about. Gibbs is correct. If you don't work them, he was saying this earlier. When you bring in a lot of low skilled labor, you drive the wages down of certain sectors in the economy. And when people don't want those jobs, you bring in the low skilled labor, it keeps those jobs, which does keep prices low for the consumers. It's great for us, keeps CPI, core CPI. But at the same time, if you don't get anyone to work those jobs, eventually those wages organically go up. And then people it gets to a point where it's, I'll take $20 an hour to go pick cabbage in a fucking field. Hell yeah.
And now cabbage is $5 a head, $10 a head.
Yeah, I was going to say that's dependent on what they can actually pay out from their revenue, yeah?
Yeah.
So Wick asked the question, right? And I kind of want to answer that. Step one is that this is a really tragic tragedy that happened. Is we got to stop deporting veterans. If you serve the military, there's no reason why you should be deported. You should be like granted citizenship. Secondly, on that note, uh, what would y'all be? Let me just throw this is a I'm just rolling this on what if out here. Would y'all be in favor of yeah, we'll let almost anybody come in, but you have to do at least a 5-year stint in the US military
No,
to be here.
no.
Yeah.
I don't
I
like,
think it should
I don't
be
like
no, no,
barring
China-
citizenship requirements
Hold on.
behind military or
Listen,
civil service.
Hold on. I
Optional.
want to hold on. I want to interrogate that from JC there. You said no. You said you wouldn't be in favor of tying it between like 5 years seems a lot considering
I mean,
that.
Any
Sure.
time, any amount of time is too long. I'm not in favor of
Two.
attaching a vote to military service. I'm not in favor of attaching any citizenship status like related rights
Even
to
for
military
even
service.
as a shortcut to bypass the legal process.
Well,
you
hold
would-
on. Okay, so if
Yeah,
there are
yeah,
immigration,
sure.
if there is immigration reform that has already taken place, and this is presented as an alternative to that path, I suppose I would be a little bit more sympathetic to it. But making it the exclusive route, absolutely not.
Fair enough.
No,
Any
I'm
other
with it.
thoughts on that? Go ahead, Ali.
I'm gonna say no. I'm with it. You know how me and Gibbs have been on a couple panels. I've been thinking military school is the best way to handle these young fucking youth that are just degenerate going nut jobs. So honestly, if there was a program where if there was an illegal immigrant and you caught them, or if someone wanted to choose to immigrate here, but they were like, hey, I want to be here immediately, I'll go join the military or the army or whatever the fuck it is for 2 years. Maybe not actual on the floor, but training, basic shit. I'd be
Well,
with that. That sounds like a great idea.
I mean, so it sounds like a good idea, but it also automatically has a barrier to who is allowed to utilize that path. Because if there's like an 80-year-old dude who wants to immigrate from Mexico to the United States, he can't take that path.
But we probably don't want the 80-year-old dude to immigrate from Mexico to the United States because
I don't know
there's
why.
literally just no I get the nicety of having someone, but having an 80-year-old come here is just not gonna work, not going to do anything. That's not, we wouldn't want
They
that.
create
anyway.
demand in the economy, which creates need for more jobs.
They also
barely.
Yeah, and then they're also what about the medical problems? Like they can be a drain on the medical what's the term infrastructure as well.
If we're talking about demand, then you don't have to worry about this military thing. Then what you would do instead is you would say you would have to have a certain amount of money. You would have to be coming with equity. You'd have to be coming with something that
So
you
now
can
it-
contribute.
So now it's
And
it's
if you want,
merit-based
and
on
I don't
personal
think
wealth.
anybody on the left wants this. That you
No.
don't want it to make it so that all the poor people from the countries are going into the
But-
military and all the rich people are going straight in.
But
Yup.
to be clear, the current immigration process, as far
would
as
like
I
that now.
know, is rather expensive if you do it legally. So there is already a financial barrier to immigrating legally to the
illegal
United
immigration is
States,
expensive
which is why less
It costs like
expensive than
$7,000 to
legal
$10,000.
immigration,
No, it costs like
Which-
$7,000 to $10,000
which is
depending
why
on where
we
you're
need
coming from. the gate here.
immigration reform, right?
Well, that's okay. Before we get off on a million tangents, that's what I want to concentrate on.
Yeah,
Reform, right?
Yeah.
We keep saying we need reform. We need reform. I think everyone here, except for maybe Keldoge, because they haven't been here long enough, right, has said we need some sort of reform. But I've seen very little in the ways of concrete proposals. Even
Replicate
just
the 1986
Gibbs.
Act.
Gibbs has been the only one who has given us kind of a concrete
Well,
kind of like
I
military
proposed,
service.
I proposed two
thing.
times.
And
Replicate
no
the
deporting-
1986
and no
Immigration
Repeat
Act.
it. Repeat it. Repeat it.
Replicate
So
the
we know.
1986 Immigration Act signed by Ronald Reagan, which made it illegal to hire known illegal immigrants and also naturalized a large proportion of the presently in the U.S. illegal immigrants, and then pair that with immigration reform. Make the process easier to apply. Put more funding in the people who review those applications and get the process moving faster. There you go. There's your solution.
My solution is, I've said it earlier as well. You kind of left me out of there. I think we leave the current system of immigration in place and we vary the number year to year based algorithmically on how many jobs we need. We try to match up skills, but in low skill employment, skills really aren't that big of a deal. And for the time being, that could be a good thing. But I do have the same fear of automation taking a lot of those low skill jobs out of the labor pool. So
So that's I want to address that real quick. Is the reason why I brought the military up was because of the automation, right? Listen, we know that China outnumbers us by quite a bit, and we also know based off the war in the Ukraine that the modern weapons tear through bodies. So we're gonna need just bodies for the meat grinder. And I feel like this sounds bad, but if we are expecting a possible fight with a near peer adversary like China, hey, like if you provide value to
Okay.
society, you
I'm not
serve the
touching that
military.
one.
Gibbs,
I was
hold
with
on.
you till the
I'm the
meat
tangent
grinder.
machine,
Hold
but I'm
on.
not touching that one.
I mean, but it's true.
Hold
Though. Like,
on.
war's bad. Like,
If
we
you
need
think-
to break
that's
up,
all.
and
If you think China is our military peer, I don't
no, I
think you
said near
understand our
peer,
military.
near peer adversary, near
Even
peer.
near
How
peer.
near?
I don't think they legitimately are. I'm just using, the potential.
Mhm.
Not
They
Navy
are
and
hard.
Air
They're a
Force.
paper
no.
tiger.
I think we're gonna whoop their ass.
asses.
But if we run out of bodies, they might be able to beat us.
Okay.
Alright.
So I want to. We've all proposed them, and the only thing we've discussed is a military one. I want to hear discussion on JC's proposal, right? About if we want to incentivize more legal immigration and less illegal immigration, would it not make sense to pour funding into the systems that would allow us to streamline the process to get into this country legally, right? To make it easier, cheaper, and faster in a real way. Would that not be a way to disincentivize illegal immigration while at the same time allowing us to shore up the worker needs that we may have, right, in the country? If you are opposed to that, can you please tell me why?
We already pumped. I got you right here. We already
Bring it
pumped
on.
40% more in 2023 than we did in 2017 when we had a working, effective border. We don't need to just throw money at the problem. Like throwing money at the problem is how schools got as fucked up as they are, where administrations are growing 10 times the rate that the children in the population of children are growing. So like you can't just keep throwing money at things and hope it fixes. We have to look at why it's failing in the first place. And the reason it's failing in the first place is because the Biden DHS gutted Trump's policy, tried to replace it with their own, realized they didn't have the authority to do their full plan and needed congressional help in certain places. And they didn't get it because Republicans are mad they were ignored.
Immigration
like-
services are one of like the lowest funded things on the priority totem pole. I don't think that like properly funding those services would qualify as throwing money at the problem.
I mean, throwing more money at it, like right now it works. I'm looking at the cost right now. In certain countries, especially countries in this hemisphere, it only costs like $4,000 for the entire process, and you can get it done in a matter of months. If you're looking for a visa, certain forms cost like $1,000 to submit. You can get your visa within a few months as well. With the Biden app that he's put out recently, that significantly sped up the process and made it financially cheaper to submit these documents as well because you're doing it all online. Like a lot of this is like.
So what's your
already
objection?
being
What's your objection to the proposal of like speedlining the process? All you seem to say is that other countries don't do that, and we're doing basically fine. So what's
That's
your,
what I was. I'd have to dig into
like we're
what
obviously
our
not doing
current-
fine, right?
I'd say it's great
Why we're all
because I'd have to
here.
dig into our current immigration. No, we're talking about legal immigration, not people taking visas, not people jumping over the border, not asylum abuse. We're
We're
right now
talking about
the legal
solutions for
immigration.
illegal immigration, and I'm
Yeah.
proposing streamlining the legal immigration process in order to accommodate that.
I would say if we put more money into it, but we don't. Why change anything?
Wait. Now you're saying we can put more money into it, but before you said that
If
was
we
just
put
throwing
more
money at
money-
a problem. So which is it?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to explain that right. So if you want to throw more money into it, what you're saying is if we want to just do more of what we're already doing, that's okay. But that's not what you're proposing.
No, it's
You're
not.
saying throw more money at it and then also gut the system and not giving any more reason to gut the system besides it takes time and costs money.
Well,
But you're saying throw more money at it.
No, the reason
let me
to
ask
gut
this.
the system is because it
Once you finish,
streamlines
I wanna go to
immigration and disincentivizes illegal immigration. By
Yeah,
making the
but I
legal
mean-
immigration process easier, you have fewer people that need to resort to illegal immigration to get into the country. That would be the
I'm
reason.
not shaping my laws of what to do the right way. We're not going to not do best practice because criminals will break the law otherwise. We just throw the criminals out and then they don't break the law. That's disincentive enough. You break the law, you get deported. Problem solved. And then people follow the law.
I didn't argue
don't need
against
to-
that either.
That's
Who
what
are you
you're
talking
saying
to?
though.
Who else is in
You're
this
talking
room?
about de-incentivizing illegal immigration.
Correct.
You don't need to de-incentivize it through the law. You
If I would
de-incentivize
prefer that they
through
immigrate
deporting people.
legally, then I would like to disincentivize illegal immigration at the same time.
Okay, well, then, I mean, that's their choice to break the law. If they do, they get deported. Problem solved.
Okay, but
Like,
do
we
you
just
not?
follow the
Okay,
law.
I'm really concerned that you just
you
don't.
guys are circling the drain on this.
I don't know. I'm concerned he's not understanding what I'm
Hold on.
saying here.
I get that,
Yeah,
but we
I'm
need
sorry,
to go to
I'm
other
sorry.
people. I want to give it to Code Dodge, and I want to give to Gibbs. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to point out that it doesn't seem that deporting, at least as like a primary method, isn't really working.
Why not?
Because
Can I-
it's been a continuous issue for the past 20 years.
Let me
It's
build a
because we're
bridge.
not deporting at the rate that we need to be deported. We have people most of the Obama deportations were him turning people down at the border. The Obama administration started counting differently how we've always counted deportation. And they counted most of those people were turned down at the border, not actually deported from the country. We're not deporting at nearly the rates that need to happen. Every single person here illegally, once they're identified as illegal, need to be deported. And that's what DHS policy allows them to do. But it also gives them disclosure to deport or not. Now, that's an ideological standpoint. It could be reasoned if you're talking policy that gets talked down a little bit. But at this current point, criminals get punishment for their actions. That's it.
I
All right,
proposed a solution that would create fewer criminals. And your issue
Okay,
with that
Kim.
was that it's rewarding criminals.
So I want to see if
Yeah.
I can build a bridge that will satisfy all parties here, just out of curiosity. All right. Step one. This is the Gibbs border solution. Step one, we secure that border, and I mean we lock it down. It's locked, right? Here's the caveat. At some unknown date in the future, we can pick it, but it's gonna be a set date. This is gonna go down. We're gonna start building all this stuff now, and then on the January 1st of 2025, it's gonna be the lockdown border. Nobody's coming in, right? We can naturalize everybody that's here until then, and then after that point. We're going to go to the system that Tuna Chip and I have proposed, where if you have an economic enough amount of value, then you can come. Or if you are willing to serve in the military, you have your other pathway to citizenship, right? And then we could go from there, and we'll just go forward. Who would be on board with that plan?
Who gets to determine the economic value?
Gibbs.
I mean, we could just set that
Gibbs.
forth. I guess I'd have a probably lower one than Tuna
Your
Chip.
plan.
No, but I mean,
Sure.
serious
Well,
question.
well,
Who's
well,
deter-
my
well, serious question. Who's
well,
determining
my
that economic value?
I don't know.
Do you have a proper place of residency? Are you paying your taxes in full? Are you not taking any government subsidies or support system at all? If so, you get to stay. If you're a person who is taking from those things, I'm sorry, that's for old people and cripples.
Okay,
that's
what if I
not
disagree with you?
Obviously, we're talking about able-bodied. Yeah.
well, whatever
Why
you
do
want to call it.
So Tuna gets to make that, not Gibbs. Okay.
Well,
sure.
Tuna and Gibbs. It's a Tuna Gibbs.
Oh, gotcha. It's
collab.
well, he did say he was building bridges.
combination.
Yeah,
Yeah,
got it.
I mean,
Okay.
yeah, and
The
then
collaboration.
and then I offered naturalization to everybody that's here, and we can give it up to a certain date. So yeah,
That's
you know what?
base.
I'm openly admitting that until January 1st or whatever, we're probably gonna have a massive illegal immigration problem. But after that,
Yep.
okay, we're done. We're done. After that, because now we have the world's securest border. We set it to DMZ like North Korea, whatever it takes. And everybody's going to know coming up. We have lots of warning signs. Don't go to the U.S. border. You have to go to a legal port of entry from now on. Would anybody be opposed to that? If
I
we did-
like liberal Gibbs. This is good.
yeah, I just want the border secured. I mean, we're willing to make bridges.
Okay, did we solve it, gang? Is if there's no objections, did we solve this? Did we
I don't
solve
know.
the
One-
border
We can
crisis?
I don't think we can ever solve illegal immigration. There's always going to be some. The question is mitigating it, right?
The one thing
Do we
I'm
at least
not,
agree on the
Hold on,
solution?
Hold on, Kill Dodge, go ahead.
the one thing I'm not hearing here that would be really effective that isn't enforced, or at least in my experience, it's not enforced at all, is actually punishing employers for hiring illegal immigrants or hiring temp firms that hire illegal immigrants. It just doesn't. It happens. It totally does, but it only happens once it's become so obvious that the problem is already insane.
The
It
companies-
needs to happen much earlier.
The companies are just really good at being super sneaky. So we brought this up earlier. There have been there was a meat packing factory or a whatever, and they were hiring illegal immigrants, but they were giving them fake IDs. They were giving them above age. It was a whole thing. So they're just getting really good at being sneaky. I think that company is being sued though.
Oh yeah.
There should
No,
be
so
prison time
growing
for
up,
No, they said the 16-year-old illegal immigrant Mexican was a 35-year-old man. It was insanity.
what the f-
Well, here's the thing. You look at a Mexican, you really cannot tell the difference, right?
Okay.
What?
Okay.
Oh my
as
god.
a person, as a mixed white Latino person, I will say, I am just joking, and I have permission to.
He pulled out the card. He pulled out the card.
And they
right at the
smell like
end.
adobo.
That was his. He did
Okay,
the Yugi
Where's
thing.
the proof, Tuna?
We are.
Where's the
we are
proof?
coming up.
I don't know.
Okay,
It's probably
coming
you
up.
know what, cutting
Listen to
hair
Wick.
somewhere in fucking California. You go dig her up. She hasn't returned my calls in a while.
Noted. Okay, gang, it's been an episode. It's been a show. I'll say that. It's been a show. Thanks for being here. I appreciate all of you for being willing to come. Keldosh, thank you for being willing to fill in for the time that you were.
No problem.
I really appreciate you, my audience, for sticking with me. If you'd like to support the channel, if you'd like to contribute and not be deported, right, then you can do so through liking and subscribing, through following if you're watching this on Twitch or Kick, and if you want to give some subs like Admiral Gibbs just did, right? Gibbs is here. Gibbs has a pathway to citizenship and the dictatorship, right? If you want your own pathway to citizenship, give some subs, super chats, all these things, really helpful. Tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern, so a little later than we normally do, 7 p.m. Eastern, we're going to go live with Aircraft Sparky with Fabian Liberty Scott, and they're going to be talking to Cypher, and they're going to be talking to Hammer, and they're going to be talking about the recent report released by The Intercept that the DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, is using Hamas as an excuse to basically spy on campuses. Right? It's an interesting report. We're going to be talking about, one, is this something that we should be okay with? Why or why not? Or is this just government overreach? We'll talk about it. Friday, we're going to have Adam Mockler on. We're going to have Principles Before Politics. We're going to have I'm Really Important. We're going to have, who was the last guy? I know there's one more. Right? Counterpoints. That's it. How could I forget?
Jeez.
And we're going to be talking about winning over people on the other side of the aisle. Like, what are the best ways to talk to people who disagree with you, to actually persuade people, to get people who wouldn't normally vote for you to vote for you? Should be an interesting conversation, less of a debate, more of a talk, right? But thank you all for being here. I want to give each and every one of these people an outro. When they give their outro, I want them to tell you where they can find them, and then I want you to go and find them. I want you to subscribe to their channels too, right? So we're gonna start with Tyler. Go ahead.
All right. Average debate enjoyer. You can find me with your mother, or on Twitter. And I think I substantiated my claims a good bit that this is kind of the Democratic policy's intended immigration plan to let people in on visa programs and let the asylum system be abused so that we can get a second-class cheap labor force to bolster the economy and get some votes. I think I did a pretty solid job refuting any counter arguments against. And anyone in the 4K ranks that wants to play Dota, hit me up.
Okay. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate you. And Dota of all things. Anyway, gang, check him out. Follow him on Twitter. Next up, Admiral Gibbs. Go ahead.
Yeah, name's Admiral Gibbs. You can find me as Admiral Gibbs on pretty much all the socials. So come find me, check me out. If you don't like what I have to say, or you don't, we try to have a fun time with it. It's great times. It's good stuff. Thanks for having me, Wick. Love being here.
Oh, gang, check him out. Are you going to be streaming after this or no?
I probably will be streaming, yeah.
Okay, we'll write out into you. Keldoge, go ahead.
Hey, my name is Keldoge. You can come find me on basically any social. I think I'm on all of them now. And everything is just Keldoge, so KELDOGE. I stream a lot of games, a lot of just like debate streams or just like react streams. I like to have fun, and I have a very like open audience policy. I really like to hear from different perspectives. So come on down and check me out, folks. I think you'll have a good time.
Gang, check them out. Go give them a follow. Thank you for being willing to fill in for the last 30 minutes. I really appreciate you.
Anytime.
Next up, Ali, go ahead.
Yeah, you can find me at Sociologic, 2 C's at the end, on not pretty much anything where the internet exists. I just want to bring up one more point. We can deport all the men, but we leave the women because the foreign women have the fattest asses, and so we need those here.
Amen.
That should be part of. If you have a fat ass, you're contributing to this economy, and you get to stay.
There's your economic value right there.
Okay. Thanks for being here. Gang, check them out. Give them a follow. Really appreciate you. Tuna Chip, go ahead.
I want to go ahead and say I have to take an L on that one. I forgot that the eaters supply value to the feeder economy. So people like my friend here, Sociologic, that want to shove a sandwich in a Sista, they can go ahead and have someone to talk to. Anyway, you can find me here on twitch.tv. I'm on YouTube and I'm on Kick. They're all just tuna chip. The fucking food followed by the food. Real simple. I'm also saying rude shit on Twitter under Tuna Chip TV. God forbid the person with no post be deleted. Elon Musk, get on that. Get on that. They're nobody.
Gang, check him out. You can tune a piano, but you can't tune a chip. So check him out. All platforms, give him a follow. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate you. Last but certainly not least, Lefty Jesus. Go ahead.
Yeah, Lefty Jesus on X, but we've rebranded pretty much everywhere else, I think. I've gotten that thing. Big JC on YouTube and Kick. Big JC on Twitch, like Big JC on Twitch, the full thing. Thanks, Wick, for this opportunity. This was really awesome. Got to talk to some really cool people. You can, if anybody wants to, get into it with me on Twitter, that's where I'm most active. The streaming kind of has taken a back seat recently, but I'm hoping to start it up in a real fervor for this election year. So.
Okay, check him out, gang. Give him a follow, and you're welcome. I like to have new voices. I like to give people a chance, and thank you for being willing to come on. Gang, remember, tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, that's when you can find me for the DHS and Hamas debate. We're going to raid out into Admiral Gibb, so I want everyone to wave, say bye-bye.
Shout out to my fiance.
Shout out to Admiral
shout out
Gibb
to
and
his
Tyler's fiance.
I'll make sure to give her a special welcome when she gets here. But for now, we'll see you guys later. Bye.